So there I was, dead in a sewer because a construction crew knocked over their own roadblock and went home. That's it. That's the cause of death. Not a disease, not a villain. A cone fell over. My name's Lee May, third-year medical student, which sounds impressive until you learn what kind. The school made everybody do a 1-month hospital internship to get the certificate, and I did mine at the affiliated hospital, where I diligently and professionally did nothing at all for 4 straight weeks. I had a system. The system was, look busy near a wall. And on my last night, at the exact moment I was staring at my watch waiting to clock out, they wheeled in 2 appendicitis cases. And my supervisor, a woman who had shown me all the attention you'd give a coat rack, suddenly decided this was the night I'd learn something and sent me into the operating theater. So I stood there for hours, and I got out at 11, and I was dizzy because I'm a person who stays up till 4 in the morning on her phone in the dorm, and my body had never once been asked to do anything. And I walked out of that hospital into a road under construction where somebody had flattened the barrier and the banner and left it lying in the dirt. And I stepped into an open sewer. And here's where it gets stupid, because when you die and wake up somewhere else, you're supposed to wake up in a body. That's the deal. That's how this works. You open your eyes as a grown adult with hands and a name and a problem to solve, and you get on with it. I got in as a fetus. I want you to think about that for 1 second. Not reborn, not possessed a corpse. I got stuck in a pregnancy, in another world, with a full adult consciousness and a medical education I hadn't attended. And then I had to wait. 16 years. 16 years of being a baby, then a toddler, then a kid, then a teenager, in a primitive world, fully aware, with a brain full of anatomy and a body that couldn't lift a stick. 16 years of waiting for my hands to work. That's the longest gap year in recorded history. So let me tell you where I ended up. The Skywolf tribe. Named for the Skywolves because most of the warriors here signed battle pet contracts with them. And if that sentence made you sit up, good. Hold on to it. And the settlement's built into a solid rock mountain, which is the single smartest thing anybody in this world has ever done. Not a camp, not huts, stone. You can't burn it and you can't knock it over, and nothing gets in that doesn't come through the front. And when 2 people here become partners, they move out and carve their own cave into the rock. That's it. That's how you announce a marriage in this world. You go over to a mountain with a stone axe and you make a hole in it. Property development, Skywolf style. And I was lying in one of those caves, and it was daytime, and I could tell because of the light coming through the entrance, and I could tell only because of that, because the lighting situation in a hole in a rock is what you'd expect. 20 square meters, stone bed, dry grass on the bottom, straw mat on top of the grass, and I wove that mat myself, thank you very much. 16 years is a long time, and I got hobbies. And hides over the mat. And the tanning work in this tribe is genuinely advanced, soft, barely any smell, which I mention because it's the first hint that these people are not what the word primitive makes you picture. And a straw curtain at the entrance, and through it a bigger cave, and a smaller one off the side, and the whole layout is shaped like a Mickey Mouse head, which is a comparison exactly one person in this world is equipped to make. 2 bedroom, 1 living room, in a rock, with a mouse silhouette. And I've got a family here, parents and an older brother. He's got the little cave. Mom and Dad sleep in the big one at the front, because somebody has to be between the entrance and the children at night in case something decides to come in. That's not a bedroom, that's a position. And there's some wooden racks with junk on them, stone knives, stone axes, the usual. Sister, are you feeling better? That's Lay, my brother, warrior of the tribe. He came in excited, which is his default state, and honestly one of the great renewable resources of this valley. And now let me explain what's actually going on in this world, because it isn't sticks and rocks. You become an adult at 16, and when you do, a shaman puts you through awakening. Bloodline power. And it's not a metaphor. Awakening your bloodline makes you measurably better at everything that keeps you alive. Strength, speed, stamina, agility, perception. And then the shaman teaches you to actually use it, because raw power you can't control is just a way to hurt yourself impressively. And once you've got it, you're a warrior. And a warrior protects the tribe. Hunting, patrolling, fighting. And a tribe without warriors does not survive on this continent. Not struggles. Does not survive. That's the whole load-bearing fact of this civilization, which is why nobody here fights each other. Life is hard enough that these people are extremely united, and they almost never have conflicts. And I want to flag that now because it is going to matter more than anything else in this story. They're not nice because they're gentle. They're nice because the alternative is extinction. And the warriors form the hunting team, and they go out and kill wild beasts so everyone eats. And the animals here are much bigger than they have any business being. I don't know why. Nobody knows why. They just are. Everything on this continent came out of the oven at about 3 times the size it should be, and the result is that only genuinely powerful warriors can hunt at all. And a hunt can go wrong in more ways than I can list. Storms, attacks, getting lost, poison. And what these people do about it is skill. Hit the weak point, fast and accurate, first time. And endurance, because you're out there for a long time, and the wild does not care that you're tired. So, that's the world. Rock Mountain, bloodline, battle pets, giant animals, and a medical student who skipped class. And I need to be honest with you about my qualifications, because it's important, and it's embarrassing. I know a bit about medicine. A bit. Superficially. I'm a junior medical student who treated her one clinical rotation as a scheduling obstacle, and the sum total of my hands-on surgical experience is standing in a room while 2 other people did an appendectomy and being annoyed about my feet. And in this world, that makes me the most dangerous thing alive. Ask me what 16 years of waiting does to a person who already knows the answers. And not everybody makes it through awakening. The ones who don't become the gathering team, and they still need warriors escorting them every time they leave, because a person without bloodline power is a snack with a basket. And the gathering team brings back the edible parts of plants, because you cannot eat only meat. These people work that out on their own, without a single word of nutrition science, purely by watching what happens to people who try. And I just turned 16, and I went out with the gathering team for the first time a couple of days ago. And a poisonous centipede bit my foot. 16 years. First trip outside, first day on the job, and something came out of the ground and put venom in me before lunch. I'm fine now. I can go collect tomorrow. Sister, rest a few more days. You're already thin and weak, and now you're hurt. Everyone will understand. The tribe doesn't need your food. The tribe doesn't need your food. And he said it kindly. That's what kills me. My brother, genuinely, sincerely, with love, told his little sister that her contribution is optional and everyone's fine with that. And he meant it as a comfort. And he's right. That's the worst part. I'm the thin one. I'm the weak one. 16 years in this body, and I have contributed approximately 1 basket of leaves and 1 centipede bite. I'm really all right. The shaman healed my foot. Look, there's not even a wound. And there wasn't. 2 days. Venomous bite, gone, no scar, because a shaman looked at it. File that. We'll come back to it. All right then, don't force yourself. And I couldn't tell him the real reason I was in such a hurry to get back out there, which is that I cannot eat the mixed stew. I physically cannot. I have tried. 16 years and I still can't do it, and I was too embarrassed to say that to a man who just offered to feed me for free out of the tribe's mouth. Because here's the culinary situation. This world has civilization. It's real, it's rudimentary, and it is firmly Stone Age. And the cuisine has exactly 2 settings, roast it or boil it. And the tribe only recently graduated from raw meat and blood, which they'll tell you about like it was last week, because it basically was. And my name is a vegetable. I'm called Lee, Ginger, because the shaman found ginger the year I was born. That's how naming works here. Something good happens, a baby shows up, congratulations, you're Ginger. And ginger is a genuinely big deal in this tribe. You need it to eat meat. You need it to treat illness. You need it for poisoning. And you really need it in winter. That's not seasoning. That's the pharmacy. And later I used the excuse that people couldn't tell whether they were calling me or asking for the actual Ginger to get everyone to say Lee May instead. And it stuck. And that's the only thing I have left of the world I came from. A name I smuggled in through a loophole about a root vegetable. And everybody thinks it was a scheduling convenience. And ginger is good. Fresh or dried, easy to store, and I know that because I studied traditional Chinese medicine, and my teacher said ginger comes from the tropics and likes it warm and wet. So I spent years assuming we were in the tropics. And then winter comes and it snows and the river freezes solid, so I have no idea what's going on here. None. My one piece of applicable botanical knowledge walked into this world's weather and fell over. And that's the entire seasoning inventory: ginger and salt. And the salt comes from a coastline hundreds of miles away, and every so often the tribe sends people to go get it, hundreds of miles, for salt, on foot, through a continent where the animals are 3 times too big. So, grilled meat, boiled meat, and the fruit and tubers of plants nobody can identify. That's the menu. That's been the menu for 16 years. And I was desperate to find new food, and I got bitten before I made it past the door. And I was sad about it, and I'm going to be honest about how sad, because this is the low point and you should see it properly. I got dropped into a strange world where the most basic needs, food and clothing, cannot be met. Not are difficult, cannot be met. And I wanted to be one of those protagonists. You know the ones. The farming novel heroine who lands in the wilderness and immediately identifies 9 edible plants, builds a kiln, invents soap, and has a thriving estate by chapter 40. And I'm just some girl. Ordinary family, ordinary life. I can't recognize a single edible wild vegetable. I'm not a craft genius who can do everything. I have no skills. And I don't have the protagonist's golden finger. So why exactly did you transmigrate me? Ding dong, your golden finger is now online. 16 years. 16 years. I complained about not having one time, internally, on a stone bed, with a centipede hole in my foot, and it went ding. Golden finger? What a coincidence! And I looked around the cave, and there was nothing. No glowing object, no person, nothing. And I genuinely started wondering whether the venom had finally gotten to my brain. I'm in your mind. You can just talk to me in there. Let me introduce myself. I am the poverty-alleviation system developed by the Alliance of All Worlds. You can call me System. My functions are popularizing scientific knowledge, assisting learning, and helping the host complete poverty alleviation tasks. The poverty alleviation system, developed by the Alliance of All Worlds. I got a government program. Other people get swords, other people get dragons. I got assigned a caseworker. And I could tell instantly there was stuff it wasn't saying. Poverty alleviation? Why pick someone as insignificant as me? And the answer is genuinely interesting. Food directly to native inhabitants. The world's consciousness rejects us. Only travelers like you work, outsiders, but also natives, born here. The world's consciousness accepts you, so we bind to you and do our work through you. And there it is. That's why I was a fetus. That's why 16 years. That's why I had to be born. I'm not a passenger who got dropped in. I'm a loophole. A foreign soul that grew up inside this world's own paperwork until it stopped checking. They didn't send me here early. They sent me here early enough. Cooperating with us helps and helps you. You really can't go back. Through cooperation, you can improve your life. Are you satisfied with your current life? And I went quiet, because I thought about the mosquitoes in the cave and the roasted meat, every day, forever, the same, and the vicious beast that could arrive at any moment. And no, I'm not satisfied. I want to change it. I want the power to protect myself. I want to see a wider world. 16 years of lying in a hole in a rock, being the thin one whose food is optional. No, I am not satisfied. Then why did it take you 16 years to show up? Honestly, it's a bit embarrassing. There are population explosions everywhere right now. Birth rates are down lately, but the overall numbers are still enormous, which has led to some inefficiency in our work. Some? Okay, very much so. I'm in a backlog. I'm a ticket. 16 years of my life were a queue. Somewhere out there is a cosmic office with a stack of worlds to fix and a staffing problem, and my file sat under a paperweight while I learned to walk. And I adapted to it fast, suspiciously fast. And that's the thing about 16 years. I'm not the ignorant, helpless girl who arrived. I've had a long time to get used to impossible things. And a voice in my head was, honestly, one of the more normal developments of my week. And then I asked the only question that matters. If I complete the mission, can you send me back? I'm sorry, I can neither bring you here nor send you back. And I felt frustrated and relieved, both at once, like I'd already known. Because it's been 16 years. My family back there has started a new life by now. They've had to. 16 years is long enough that the grief is old furniture. I hope they're all well. And then I got straight back to business because I'm not letting a bureaucracy off the hook. So what do I get? You can't expect me to work for free. In order to ensure the smooth progress of poverty alleviation work, we have tailored a gift for the host based on this world's settings. This world is dangerous, so we've prepared a special medicine. Once your contracted beast takes it, it breaks through the rank restrictions. Okay, now I need to explain the latter because this is the whole power structure of this world. Strange bone, spirit bone, true bone, and higher. And a strange bone beast breaking through into a spirit bone vicious beast is hard, brutally hard. Most never do it. That's the ceiling most animals die under. And this medicine ignores the ceiling. Meet the breakthrough requirement, and your beast will evolve. It cannot fail on rank. And I looked at that gift and said the following. That sounds great, but that's not a reward for me. Employees need computers at work. Donkeys in the production team need millstones. Shouldn't you be providing me with a bodyguard? And the system choked. Genuinely, it stopped, because it found some truth in the statement. I just argued equipment provision with an interdimensional aid agency and won, on the grounds that a donkey gets a millstone. I will relay your question and apply for an additional reward from my superiors. I hope to make you as satisfied as possible. How long? Another 16 years? I'll expedite the process. I'll let you know around this time tomorrow. 16 years for the first response. One day when I threaten it with the shape of a complaint. Noted. Filed. That's a lever, and I'm going to use it forever. And then I got worried about something real. You said you'd teach me skills. Are they skills that don't exist in this world? Won't that affect the course of history here? And the system smiled, in a human way, which was unsettling. You swapped you've transmigrated to the past, but the time you're in is their present. Since you're here, you will become their ancestor. So will I, though we might remain unknown. In the long river of time, this world is at the same point in our lives. And that landed on me like a rock, because I'd been thinking of this place as behind, backward. A museum I fell into. 16 years of quietly filing everyone around me under primitive. And it's not the past, it's just somewhere else that's happening right now. And I'm not a tourist, I'm an ancestor. Whatever I do here doesn't disturb history, it is the history. Every single thing I touch becomes the thing these people always did, and nobody will ever know my name, and that's not a tragedy, that's just what an ancestor is. How do I use you? I can identify anything you can see within 1 meter. I have every skill you want to learn. And if it's something I don't know, submit a sample. I'll upload it, and someone will figure out what it does. 1 meter. 1 meter? Do you know how far our tribe travels to hunt? Do you know how big our territory is? And the answer it gave me is the most annoying thing I have ever heard, and it's correct. Based on our experience from numerous trials, this range keeps the host grounded and developing steadily. You can also have the tribe cooperate, which strengthens the tribe's cohesion. Only when all achievements are obtained through their own efforts will they not be caught off guard and overwhelmed when they no longer have our help. Read that again. When they no longer have our help. That thing just told me in the first 10 minutes that it leaves, that there's an end date, that everything I build has to survive me, and if I do this the easy way, pointing at things from a distance and handing over miracles, then the day the miracle stops, the tribe falls over. So it crippled the range on purpose. 1 meter. So I have to walk there. So somebody has to carry it to me. So it's always us doing it and never me doing it. It's not a golden finger. It's a teaching hospital. And I was immediately suspicious. Your alliance doesn't spend all its time on scientific research, does it? Is that why your efficiency is so bad? 3 dots. I got 3 dots out of a government program from another dimension. Of course not. Our system has a star net connecting to various worlds. I upload the sample and professionals answer. I also have a marketplace. You can consign items to the StarNet through me, or purchase from the marketplace. And my eyes lit right up. Can we buy a spaceship? Because they don't exist where I'm from either, and I'd like one. Yes, but you can't afford it. We're not worried about it affecting history, but a spaceship is far more advanced than this world's civilization, so our assessment is that the price is very expensive for you. We're on the same side. Why do I need money? I am a poverty alleviation system, not a welfare system. It got me. It got me clean. I have never been so thoroughly destroyed by a piece of software in my life. And then I had a genuinely great idea. Why don't I just buy everything from the store and give it to them? Yes, but you don't have any money. Can I get a loan? What is your collateral? And I laughed out loud in an empty cave. You do have a sense of humor. And that's my golden finger. A backlogged aid worker with a marketplace I can't afford, a scanner that reaches 1 meter, and a joke about collateral. And the single most valuable thing it said in that entire conversation was that it's going to leave. And I got up and walked out of the cave. And here's where I live. The whole territory is a horseshoe, a mountain range in a U, and a river 40 or 50 meters wide moving slow through the open end. Water at the mouth, mountains at your back. Nobody planned that. Somebody just found it generations ago and understood immediately what they were looking at. In the middle used to be an ugly, irregular plain, and the tribe fixed it, pulled the weeds, filled in the potholes, leveled it out, and made a square, about the size of 2 football fields. And you want to know why? Because the cubs have too much energy. That's it. That's the reason. Skywolf cubs are little engines, and they need somewhere to burn it off, and outside the tribe is full of things that eat children. So the tribe built them a park. 300 people, in the Stone Age, in a world of giant monsters, with no tools worth the name, flattened 2 football fields of ground by hand so the kids would have somewhere safe to run. That's who these people are. I want that on the record before anything else happens in this story. And the warriors take turns on the outposts. Because there are only a little over 300 people and the settlement is big, and a big settlement with a small population means gaps, and gaps mean guard duty forever. In my cave's on the right side, halfway up the mountain, with a platform built at the entrance, and I set up my kitchen on it. And there's another cave nearby. That one's Father's. Mother's skywolf lives there. Ask me what it means when your mother's wolf gets its own apartment. And from the platform you can see the sentry posts on the high ground. And here's how you build one. Find a few trees about the same thickness. Strip the branches and leaves off until you've got trunks. Bury them upright in the soil. Put some big leaves across the top for shade and rain. That's a guard post. Sticks in the dirt with a hat on. And nobody knows what the leaves are called. They just know they work. That's the entire engineering documentation of this tribe's defensive infrastructure. The big ones. You know the ones. And the river is some way off, and I look at it and I can tell it used to be enormous, because there are huge alluvial plains on both sides, and that's not something a 40-meter river does. That's the fingerprint of something much bigger that shrank. 40 or 50 meters now, 20 at the narrowest, and that's the medical student doing geology at a body of water for no reason, 16 years running, because there's nothing else to do with my brain. And it's autumn. And the wind's moving, and the birds and the insects are going, and the leaves are coming down off the trees. And I put my hand out and caught one, shaped like a maple leaf, red and yellow. And across the river, the mountains looked like somebody knocked a paint palette over. And I took a deep breath and let it out slow. And this is the season the tribe works hardest, gathering team into the mountains every single day for roots and fruit, hunting team out every single day. Because autumn's here, and winter isn't far. And winter here is very cold, and heavy snow closes the mountains, and the tribe lives all winter on what it takes in autumn. That's it. That's the whole calendar. There's no second chance, and there's no shop. What you have in the cave when the snow shuts the doors is what you've got until it opens them again, and everybody knows exactly what happens if it isn't enough. And I stood there and smiled. 16 years of looking at that view, and it looked different today, because today I'm starting a new life. And I walked down the mountain because I could see them starting lunch in the square. And here's how the tribe's economy works, and it's going to matter later. 70% of everything the hunting team and gathering team bring back goes to the tribe. 30% is yours. That's it. That's the split. Collective distribution. And nobody argues about it because everybody understands the arithmetic. You hand in 70 and you eat all winter, or you keep 100 and you starve in the dark alone. And these people eat. An ordinary person puts away several kilograms of meat in a single meal, and a warrior eats about 3 times that because they burn everything they've got every day, forever. That's not gluttony, that's fuel. And once you know that number, you understand why food is the only thing this world thinks about, because feeding 300 people who eat like that is a war you fight every single day, and you never win it. You just don't lose it today. Lee May, is your injury healed? Why did you come down by yourself? That's Who, 2 years older, hunting team, same as my brother. And he's called Who, Bear, because when he was born, his father brought back an adult wild boar. And the boars here run 700 or 800 pounds. That's the naming convention on this continent. Something happens, a baby arrives, and whatever the tribe was looking at becomes your name for the rest of your life. Nobody agonizes over it. Nobody workshops it. Dad got a pig, so you're Bear, and I'm named after a root, so I'm not throwing stones. Much better. Tomorrow I can go out gathering with Lynn and the others. And he was not having it. Why are you in such a hurry? Those were poisonous insects. The shaman said rest a few more days. And I want to say something about that, because I was socially awkward, genuinely, in my old life. The kind of person who rehearses ordering food. And 16 years in this place has slowly, patiently worn that out of me, because these people are relentlessly warm, and they do not leave you alone. And that might honestly be the single biggest reason I'm still alive. They didn't fix me on purpose. They just kept including me until it took. So I walked up to him and spun around in a circle. Look, I'm really fine. And he gave up. All right then, if you feel bad, rest. And the square was full of sweet potatoes, spread out drying in the sun, and people slowly turning them over with rakes, and people squatting on the ground, checking for bad ones, because one rotten potato in storage takes the rest with it, and they figured that out the way they figure everything out. And the sun does real work here, evaporates the moisture, concentrates the sugar, makes them sweeter, and kills off some of the bacteria and the pests so they keep. And nobody here knows a single word of that. They just know sun first, then cave, and it works. And here's how this tribe got sweet potatoes, and it's my favorite thing in this entire world. They found the leaves, that's all. They found a plant, ate the leaves, fine, good, moving on. Nobody had any idea there was anything underneath. And then some impatient person grabbed a vine and dragged it while picking leaves, and pulled a tuber out of the ground. And that's it. That's how it happened. An entire staple food, the thing that gets 300 people through winter, was discovered by somebody being too lazy to pick leaves properly. And there's a natural cave underground in the mountains, and it's cold in there, and they worked out that cold food keeps longer. So that's the pantry. Dry the potatoes in the sun, put them in the cold cave, take them out in winter, and eat them together. They invented refrigeration by noticing that a hole was chilly. And sweet potatoes are absurdly productive, and I know that because I tried it. I buried one sprouted sweet potato in the dirt, and in a few months I pulled up a huge bunch. And when the harvest came in, everybody around me was stunned, because they had never tried planting anything. Not once, ever. They gathered. That was the entire relationship with plants. Go out, find it, bring it back. The idea that you could put a thing in the ground on purpose and have more of it later was not a bad idea they'd rejected. It just wasn't an idea. And I had to beg my father for a rake, made of iron wood, which is exactly what it sounds like. I hit it with everything I had and left a shallow white mark. Only a warrior using bloodline power can work it. So the tools in this tribe aren't made by craftsmen. They're made by superhumans, because the wood is harder than the people. And I found a spot on my hillside and started cutting weeds with a stone knife. And the ones I couldn't cut, I went and got Dad. And with Mother's help, we burned the land. And it took days, and I cleared 5 meters by 5 meters, 25 square meters, Days of work. 2 adult warriors and a fire. That's what it costs to make a field in this world. And then I begged sprouted sweet potatoes off the tribe and cut them up by the buds and put them in. And then I took more, picked the seedlings off, and planted those next to them. Because I grew up in a city and I had never grown anything in my life. So I just tried everything, both methods, at once, because I didn't know which one worked. That's my agricultural technique. Do all of it and see what lives. And I got lucky. The soil's sandy, which is exactly what sweet potatoes want, and sweet potatoes are famously willing to grow anywhere. And it worked first try. And I want to be honest that it was luck. I didn't know. I couldn't have known. I put roots in the ground, and the ground happened to agree with me. And everything here grows too big. So the sweet potatoes came out the size of basketballs, and that one plot fed my family of 4 for a long time. And after that, everyone who isn't allowed to go out, the ones who can't gather, can't hunt, started growing sweet potatoes with me. Do you see what that is? That's the people whose food was optional. The thin ones, the old ones, the ones like me. Everybody in this tribe who has spent their whole life being told, kindly, with love, that nobody needs their contribution, and I handed them a job that feeds 300 people. And the hunting team and the gathering team help when they get back. Because the tribe is united and hardworking, and as long as everyone eats, who cares about a little hardship? And going out gathering is not easier than farming. It's harder, and it brings back less. They did that math in about 4 seconds and never looked back. And now sweet potatoes are one of the main foods of this tribe. High yield, filling, sweet. Cook them a dozen ways, store them all winter. And here's the thing about me and this tribe. Survival is hard here, so they cherish their children. And my brother Lay and I are twins. And when I was born, I was underdeveloped and very thin, and everyone was worried I wouldn't grow up. Sit with that a second, because I've been telling you I'm the weak one like it's a joke, and it's not. The whole tribe watched a baby come out too small and quietly braced for it. And they raised me anyway, for 16 years, feeding the one everybody expected to lose, in a world where food is a war. Nobody ever said a word about it. And now there are far fewer people going hungry because of the potatoes, and they love me even more. And that's the trade I never asked for and can never repay. They spent 16 years feeding a girl who couldn't lift a rake, and I paid them back with a vegetable, and they act like I'm the generous one. And I picked a small sweet potato out of the pile, and small here means it weighs over a pound. And I took it to Kai, who does the cooking, and he smiled at me. Roasted sweet potato again? Why didn't you get a bigger one? If it's too big, it doesn't taste as good, and it doesn't bake properly. And he looked at me with a very specific expression. You're the only person in this entire tribe with so many rules about food. And he's right, and I have no defense. 300 people who eat kilograms of meat in a sitting, standing around a fire, and one girl going, "No, that one's too big, it won't caramelize evenly." I'm the food critic of the Stone Age. And he took a poker and dug a hole in the fire, and put it in with the others, and covered it with ash, and moved the burning wood over on top, and left it to go slow. And I helped with lunch. Roasted meat and wild vegetable soup. And the hunting team wasn't back yet, so today's food was yesterday's wild boar. And every time the hunting titan comes in, somebody butchers immediately, and the highways go to clothing. And apart from what's needed today, everything gets salted and sun-dried into jerky. And that jerky is what people eat when the snow comes and nobody can go outside. And with this many people, the daily food demand is enormous, so nothing can be refined. There's no time, and there aren't the tools, and there aren't the materials. So, grill it. Because grilling is the only method that feeds 300 people at once, and reality doesn't care what you'd prefer. And today there was time. So the meat got cut small and marinated with salt and ginger. And some people don't like it marinated and prefer big pieces roasted plain, and those people do it themselves, which is the most this tribe rule imaginable. No arguing, no committee. You want it different? The fire's right there, champ. And they lit bonfire after bonfire across the square, and everyone gathered around them laying meat out on the grills, and sweet potatoes buried in the coals underneath, and several big stone pots of wild vegetable soup off to the side. And the soup is the real economy. You throw in meat, vegetables, even bones people have already eaten off, and you get a huge pot that feeds a lot of people. More cost-effective than roasting. And that's a phrase these people understand perfectly without ever having heard it. And the recipe is dried vegetables, some fresh ones, a little salt, and shrimp powder, which is mine. And here's where that came from. The river's got big fish and shrimp in it, and the tribe almost never touches them, only when they want to change, or when there's genuinely nothing else, because there's no seasoning and nobody knows how to process fish. So it tastes bitter and fishy, and it's full of bones. And they don't have the tools to catch it anyway. But the shrimp are good, palm-sized, and they're delicious with nothing on them at all. Boil them or grill them, and that's it. And the tribe throws them out. So I collected the shrimp nobody wanted, and dried them, and added a little salt, and ground them into powder. And now there's shrimp powder in the soup that 300 people eat. I invented umami, with garbage, because I was bored, and I couldn't face another plain broth. That's my second great contribution to this civilization, and it came out of a bin. And as the day went on, people put their work down and came to the fires, and they ate the charred meat and drank the soup, and their mouths were full of salt and savor, and every so often somebody poked the sweet potatoes over with a stick. And only right then do these people get to forget how tired they are, just for a bit, just food and fire and no one hurting. And somebody poked a potato, and it was gold all the way through and steaming, and scooped it out to cool. And some kids couldn't wait, and grabbed them with their bare hands, and got burned, and went flailing around the square with their arms out, and everybody around them absolutely lost it. And then some of the warriors, the ones with iron hands, who genuinely do not feel it, just picked them up, straight out of the fire, peeled the char off, yellow inside, and caramel coming off it in the air. And that's the flex in this world. Forget bloodline power. Forget the wolves. A man who can hold a hot potato is a god here, and the children stare at him. And that smell gets everybody. Sweet and caramel, and it's enough to start your appetite from across a square. A good meal, and then something sweet at the end of it. That's a whole day done right. And the sun was strong, and it made everyone drowsy. And I sat in the shade against the stone wall, watching the sweet potatoes dry, and my thoughts went soft at the edges, and a bit of breeze came through, cool, and I closed my eyes. And then the system spoke. The host seems quite content with her current life. And I thought about it, and I nodded. I came to this world for no reason I'll ever understand, and my family and my clansmen here treat me very well. My quality of life now doesn't compare to what I had, obviously. But that's because they couldn't give it to me, not because they were unwilling. They've done their best to meet my needs, so I want to do my best to be good to them back. And then I said the thing that I think is actually true. Honestly, even my original parents couldn't have given me everything I wanted. And since I can't go back, I should cherish what's here. So I'm very happy you showed up, because you're giving me the chance to help them. And the system sounded pleased. I'm happy to be able to help you. And then I asked it the real question. Why did you people set up a poverty alleviation system at all? Even if you don't care about them, what does it cost you either way? I've looked into your world. In your novels, there's a common saying, never underestimate a young man's potential. Have you heard it? And I laughed out loud. The version I know is, don't underestimate the poor young, don't underestimate the poor middle-aged, don't underestimate the poor old, and respect the dead. And the system chuckled. Your language is indeed very interesting. And then it told me the actual reason, and it's not sentimental at all. Our records show many worlds that started out extremely poor and then developed rapidly for various reasons, and ended up benefiting many surrounding worlds. We established the poverty alleviation system to develop underdeveloped areas and alleviate the burden on the alliance. So it's not charity, it's an investment. Somebody upstairs ran the numbers on a lot of dirt-poor worlds and noticed that a certain percentage of them turned into contributors, and the return justified opening a department. I'm not being saved, I'm a portfolio position. And the honest part is, it works for me too. So who cares? And then I remembered something that's been bugging me for years. Speaking of language, a lot of the words and names here are the same as my old world. Why? Because you were born here. Your mind automatically translates it into the local language, so you ignore the differences. And that answer is ambiguous as hell, and I let it go. Because I'd rather have the system than the argument, and because I've learned exactly one thing in 16 years, which is that some doors you leave shut until you're strong enough to open them. But I noticed, and I'm writing it down. Fine, let's go out and collect tomorrow, and let's get to a better life as fast as we can. Come on. Ask me what a poverty alleviation system delivers when it finally files the paperwork. And after dinner, I packed my basket for tomorrow and found a small ironwood hoe and washed it out in the kitchen and got ready for bed. And water here comes from the river outside the tribe. You go get it. You carry it back in containers. You store it in the water tanks, which are huge and carved out of stone, because that's what you make a tank out of when you don't have anything else. And the original method was carrying big wooden buckets back and forth. And the manpower here is great, and nobody minds the work. Which is the most dangerous sentence in this entire world, because it means nothing ever gets better. When everyone's strong enough to brute force a bad system forever, nobody ever fixes the system. So I found an ironwood pole about as thick as an arm, and I copied a carrying pole. And Father cut 2 grooves near the ends, and found 2 barrels and drilled holes near the rims. And Mother had this tough vine she uses to tie up prey on hunts, and we ran it through the grooves, and Father tried it and adjusted the vine length, and the water-carrying efficiency went up significantly, and then the whole tribe copied it. A stick, across your shoulders. That's it. That's the invention. A stick. In a tribe of superhuman warriors who can shrug at any workload, nobody had ever thought to move the weight onto their skeleton instead of their arms. And now it's how everyone carries everything, forever, and nobody will remember it was ever different. And I wanted to run the river water into the tribe, and I had no idea how, so I gave up. And that's the honest state of me. I know things exist. I don't know how they work. I can tell you an aqueduct is a concept. I cannot build one. I don't know much. I just do what I can. 16 years of that. And it was still early, and I lay in bed with nothing to do, because there's nothing to do here. And if I were my old self, I'd never be in bed at this hour. I'd be on my phone until 4 a.m. like a normal person, and my head filled up with junk, and I fell asleep. And when I woke up, the cave was pitch black, which is the downside of a hole in a rock. It's always dark, day or night. There's no dawn in here. There's no morning. There's just black, and then you go outside and find out what time it is. And I put on my hide coat and walked out, and it was full daylight, and the square was already working, and I picked up my basket, which I also made. And I want to tell you about the basket, because it's the most honest thing about me. I didn't know how to weave, and I studied it for a long time, and I laid vines flat on the ground in a crisscross and wrapped around and around in circles, and the result leaked out of the middle the second I picked it up. So I returned the process and realized I'd made it too loose, and made it again very tight, and this time it didn't leak, and it came out shaped like a fish basket, long and thin and completely uncarryable. And after several more days, I finally used thick, springy vines as warp and weft to fix the shape first, and then wove. And this time it barely resembled a basket. Barely resembled. And now the whole gathering team carries one when they go out, and it's convenient, and it holds a lot. And I want that on the record as my actual biography, not the transmigrator arrived and produced a basket. I failed twice, in public, over about a week, and made a fish tube, and the third one barely counted, and now it's standard equipment for 300 people. Everything I've built here came out the same way. I'm not smart. I'm just willing to be bad at things in front of everybody. And because the gathering and hunting teams leave very early, the tribe has people whose job is cooking. And here's who those people are. They're the injured, and the old, and the weak, and the sick, and the disabled. The ones who can't go out because outside will kill them. And the tribe did not abandon them. They gave them jobs. 300 people, Stone Age. Food is a war they fight daily. And the answer to, this person can't hunt anymore, was never, then they're a burden. It was, then they cook. And I keep telling you what these people are, and you keep not believing me. And after a fast breakfast, I went out with the gathering team, downstream along the river, and then up the mountain. And at this time of year, the forest is full. And today's escort warriors were Hu and Feng. And Hu's 2 years older than me and only awakened this year, which tells you it isn't automatic. It isn't a birthday. You go in and you might not come out with it. And Hu spent 2 extra years being an ordinary person before it took. And Feng, Hu, and my brother Lei are all on the same hunting team. And they're all new this year, still learning to hunt. And the tribe has 4 hunting teams, 50 plus each, and 2 go out at a time. And it takes several days for one hunt, and the other 2 stay home and protect the tribe while they rest. Because hunting means holding maximum tension for days, constantly aware, constantly scanning the jungle for the thing that's about to happen. And that is exhausting in a way that has nothing to do with muscles, and these people know it, and that's why half the army is always off. They invented shift work because they understood burnout. Nobody wrote that down. Somebody just watched enough tired men die. And my parents are out with another hunting team. And families here rarely share a team, on purpose, because hunting is dangerous and injuries are extremely easy to get. And if you split the family across teams, then at least one of them comes home. Read that again. That's not a superstition. That's a risk management policy. Somebody in this tribe's history sat down and worked out that if a whole family hunts together, one bad afternoon deletes the whole family. And so they made a rule that parents and children go out separately. They diversified their loved ones against death. And everyone started gathering, and there were little unidentified wild fruits in the roadside bushes, bright red, about the size of a fingernail. And you have to be careful. The bushes are full of small thorns and the fruit breaks easily. And Lin picked a big leaf to use as a container and started picking them one at a time, slowly. And they're sweet and sour, and I used to make jam out of them, and there's no sugar here, so the jam came out far too sour. And then I tried using it on grilled meat, and I don't know if I used too little or just did it wrong, but it wasn't good. That's 2 failed products in one fruit. Nobody talks about that part of being the transmigrator. So I didn't want to pick them. Too much trouble, and they don't keep. So I just stood there while Lin worked. And Lin hasn't awakened either. And she's about the size of a pig. And that's not an insult. That's a measurement. Remember, the boars run 700-800 pounds. So the ordinary, unawakened woman standing next to me picking berries is built like a truck. And I'm the thin one. In that company. And the system assumed I was curious because I was staring. This is a raspberry, also called a raspberry. Thanks, extremely helpful. 2 names, both raspberry. It has medicinal value. If you want to propagate it, use cuttings or layering. And I got a jolt out of that. So that's a raspberry. I've studied it. I've read about it in novels. I've just never seen the real thing, so I could never match it up. And that's the whole tragedy of my education in one line. I have read about a raspberry. I sat in a lecture about it. It was on a slide. I could have written a paragraph on its properties. And I have been standing next to one for 16 years without recognizing it. That's what my degree was. Words about things, with no things attached. And the system's actual function isn't knowledge. It's putting the labels back on the world. And then I noticed some strange trees not far off, over a meter, almost 2. Slender leaves, small white flowers, and cone-shaped fruit growing upward. And I got excited, because I grew up in Sichuan, and I know exactly what that is. That's a giant bird's eye chili. 16 years. 16 years of grilled meat with salt on it, every single day. Heaven knows how much I miss barbecue. And I went over fast. Most of them were ripe and red, some still green. And just as I reached out, Lin looked up, saw what I was doing, and came running. Baby, pick the red finger fruit. Picking it hurts your hands. Eating it hurts your mouth and your stomach. Red finger fruit, because they're as long as a palm and as thick as a finger. And she's not wrong about any of it. Spiciness genuinely is pain, not taste. It's not a flavor. It's your nerves reporting damage that isn't happening. And plenty of people who can't handle it feel real pain in their mouths. So this tribe found chilies, tried them, got hurt, and correctly classified them as a hazard. And they've been walking past a spice rack for generations because it bit them. I'll just pick a few to take home and play with. I won't eat them. And Lynn did not understand what was fun about that. But I said I wasn't eating them, so she let it go. And I lied to my friend's face about a vegetable. And then, just to be safe, I checked. Is that really a bird's eye chili? Why does it look like a tree? It's a bird's eye chili. Species here are generally larger than you know. And then it said this: if you ever leave this tribe, you may see giant beasts as big as mountains, and magical plants that walk. I'm sorry, plants that walk? And I clicked my tongue and asked the obvious question. In a world that dangerous, how were you so sure I'd survive 16 years? And the system got awkward, audibly. Well, actually, you were a latecomer to the family. Your parents originally only had one child, Lay. You forced your way in, so you are infertile. And because of that infertility, you won't leave the tribe. Also, this tribe is relatively safe. No giant beasts nearby, and the tribespeople are very united. And it just said that. In the middle of a conversation about peppers. Let me unpack it, because there's a lot in there and none of it is small. I wasn't supposed to exist. My parents were having one baby, Lay, and I came in through the side door, and the world made room for me, and the cost of that came out of my body. That's what fetal entrapment bought. I got in, and the price was that this line stops with me. And the system knows, and it's been using it as a safety feature. She's infertile, so she won't take a partner, so she won't leave the tribe, so she'll stay in the safe valley for 16 years and be there when we finally get around to her ticket. That's not a tragedy to it. That's a risk assessment. My whole life is a checkbox that made me a stable placement. And I didn't scream at it. And I want you to scream at it. And I want you to notice that. Because I've had 16 years. I already knew. Whatever that was, I've been carrying it since long before a voice showed up in my head to confirm it. So I went straight past it, to the part that was new. Our hunting team gets injured constantly. If this is safe, what's an unsafe tribe like? And here's where my entire understanding of this world fell over. You might think this place is rich in resources. It isn't. It only has ordinary creatures, nothing with any spirit in it. The real great tribes live in places teeming with vicious beasts and countless spiritual plants. Only in a place like that can a tribe grow. And read that twice, because it's the cruelest rule in this world. The danger is the resource. You cannot get strong somewhere safe. There's nothing there to eat and nothing there to become. The only way up is to live somewhere that's actively trying to kill you. And the tribes that made it are the ones who stayed in the monster pit. And the great tribes are numerous, with vicious beasts eyeing them from outside, and constant internal strife within. Do you think you'd survive? And I genuinely hadn't expected that. People fight each other? In this? 16 years in a place where 300 people never have conflicts because the world is hard enough? And I had assumed that was human nature under pressure. And it isn't. It's just my tribe. And there are other small tribes where getting enough to eat and drink is a problem. Their rivers have vicious beasts in them. They have to trade with a great tribe for salt. Everyone sleeps in one big cave. They eat, drink, and relieve themselves in that cave. Not to mention, there is no large plain for their children to play on. And I had nothing. Nothing at all. Because I've spent 16 years quietly cataloging this place as poor. The mosquitoes, the meat, the dark, the dirt. And there are people out there sharing one cave with their own waste and buying salt from a landlord. And their kids have nowhere to run. And my tribe flattened 2 football fields by hand so the cubs would have a park. Happiness is indeed relative. And I'd never seen a chili in this tribe before, and I worked out why. Somebody, generations ago, out gathering, found them, tasted one. It hurt, and they never brought it home. And that's how this tribe's whole botany works. When food gets scarce, they look for plants the birds and animals have been eating, and then they taste them, themselves. And food that's harmless to a wild animal can kill a human being. So that's the research method. Watch what the birds eat, then put it in your own mouth and find out. And the ones who guessed wrong aren't here to tell you about it. Every single plant in that square has somebody's name on it. And children are not allowed outside the tribe's territory, ever. And even where the gathering team goes has been scouted in advance by the hunting team, because this continent is fraught with danger. We're not out here foraging, we're operating in cleared ground. And I grabbed the branches and plucked one and started picking, some green, some red, because I want to taste whether the ones here are different. And because I'd told Lynn I was only taking a few for fun, I couldn't take many, so I picked a small half basket and stopped. Reluctantly. Very reluctantly. And Lynn finished the raspberries and moved on to a vine on the hillside. And this one makes flower spikes instead of single blooms. Leaves wider at the top, narrow at the bottom. Oval fruit about the size of a fist, yellow-brown skin. And the tribe uses it for soup. What's Lynn picking? You're too far away. I need to get closer to see it clearly. 1 meter. I have to physically walk over to my friend so my omniscient interdimensional aid worker can look at a berry. So I went over and started picking with her, and now it could see. Yam bean. If you used to like candied hawthorns, you should have tried them. They weren't this big. I don't like sweets. I've only ever had candied hawthorn. And then the real question. So that's yam bean. Where's the yam? In the soil. In the soil. Sweet potatoes all over again. The tribe found the part they could see, ate it for generations, and never once checked underneath. Yam is a vine, Dioscoriaceae, genus Dioscorea. The yam is the underground rhizome. The yam bean is the above-ground one. They related. Edible and medicinal. You could plant it. The soil here is sandy, which suits it very well. However, I don't recommend it. Why? With your current planting technique, even if you manage to grow them, the harvest won't be good. You may as well plant more sweet potatoes. Try digging one up. You'll see. With your current planting technique. It just called me a bad farmer. To my face. In my own head. So I picked up the hoe and rummaged through the vines to find the root and started digging. Lee May, what are you digging for? It's roots. I want to see if there's more to eat down there, like the sweet potato. And Lynn shook her head. How can that be the same? Its fruit already grows on the vine. Sweet potato vines don't have fruit on them. And that is a genuinely excellent argument. She's not being dim. She's reasoning from the data she has. Plants put their food in one place. This one's put it up here. Therefore, there's nothing down there. It's a real hypothesis. It's coherent. It's wrong, and she has no possible way to know that. Let's try, just in case. And she thought about it, and agreed, because I come up with new things a lot, and she picked up a hoe and dug with me. And that's the whole engine of everything I've done here. Not the system, not my education. The fact that when the weird girl says, let's dig a hole for no reason, this tribe picks up a hoe. And yam roots go deep, and we dug a big pit into the mountain wall and finally pulled out a section of rhizome wrapped in mud. And I got excited and went at the soil around it carefully with the hoe, and I worked until my back was screaming, and I pulled out a wild yam as long as my arm. And it wasn't like the yams I knew. Iron rod yam is a neat cylinder with a smooth surface. This thing grew completely at random, flat, bumpy, going wherever it felt like. There really is. Should we keep digging? And I looked at the enormous pit we'd just made and felt a headache coming on. It's too time-consuming. And we don't even know if it's edible. Let's pick the yam beans first. And to the system. It's really not worth it. And that's a genuinely good call, and I want credit for it, because the fantasy version of me digs up every yam on that hillside in a triumphant montage. And the real version looked at the hole and the hours and her back and said, the cost/benefit is bad. The yam beans here are very large. You can plant the yam and harvest only the beans. The yield on beans is also very high. And that's clever. Plant the whole thing. Never dig it up. Just harvest the part that grows in the air. You get the crop without ever paying the excavation cost. You farm the top of the plant and leave the bottom in the ground as a permanent installation. Good. More ingredients to enrich the recipes, because that's what I actually care about, and I've stopped pretending otherwise. And the yam beans grew densely, and in no time I had a full basket. And the faster tribespeople carried the collected food back to the square on shoulder poles, on zai poles, and brought the empty baskets back. And everyone else kept collecting. That's a supply line. That's a relay. That's people running a logistics rotation so the collectors never stop collecting. And autumn is very busy. And I had someone take the chilies back to the square so they could dry them for me, and nobody asked why. Everyone in that square is now drying a poison for the weird girl because she said she wanted to play with it. And if you get hungry at noon, you just pick something and eat it. You will not go hungry in these mountains in autumn or spring. Nature always provides, generously, for about half the year, and then it closes the mountains and starts counting. Ask me what a girl from Sichuan does with half a basket of peppers and 16 years of grievance. And by evening, everyone had made several round trips. And I had picked chilies and yam beans and nothing else all day, which is a genuinely poor showing for a woman who insisted she was well enough to work. And the first thing I did back at the tribe was go check on my peppers. And the autumn sun is strong, and one day had already wilted them. And here's the plan. Dry them into dried chilies, grind them into powder, put it on the meat, and the fresh ones left over, stir-fried meat with chilies. 16 years I have been waiting to write that sentence. And the sky was clear, and Lei and the hunting team who'd stayed home were harvesting sweet potatoes. Because the tribe cultivated a lot of land on the plains by the river now, and that land is the tribe's hope. That's what it is. That's not poetry, that's the job it does. And Lei had been out there since sunrise, same as us, with rudimentary equipment, throwing himself at it. And harvesting sweet potatoes is not easy for them, and it takes patience and care, because the intact ones go into winter storage, and the broken ones get eaten tonight. And that's the whole grading system. Whole potato, you live in February. Cracked potato, dinner. These people sort their winter by hand, one tuber at a time, and a careless thumb costs a meal in the dark. And after dinner, Lei and I walked back up to the cave together, and I brought yam beans home to learn how to grow them. Aren't you full yet? And I couldn't tell him what they were for, because I don't know if they'll even grow. So I gave a vague answer and got past it. And the system says the best time to plant yam beans is April. And I originally counted about 14 months in a year here, and then got too lazy to keep tracking it. And when I asked, it turns out there are 16, 4 months per quarter. And the season changes are subtle, so I remembered it wrong. 16 months. I have been in this world for 16 years, and I did not know how long a year is. I counted wrong, and then I quit, and I've just been vibing through the calendar for over a decade, like a woman who doesn't know what month her own birthday is in. And I'm the intellectual around here. And it's mid-autumn, so no planting, so I cleaned the yam beans and the yam I dug up, took a wooden bucket, added water, and soaked them, and went to wash up. And I was tired, because that was my first real collecting trip. As a miner, I helped out around the tribe, but they were all easy jobs. Not this. Up and down slopes, carrying things on your back, digging for yam. 16 years of being the small one, and my first actual day of work nearly finished me. And then a horn, rhythmic, from the sentry. And it's made from water buffalo horn, because buffalo come down to drink from the Sky Wolf River upstream of the village, and the tribe made the alarm out of them. And Lei was already running out of the cave, because everybody knows what 3 short and 1 long means. The hunting team is back. And our parents were on both those teams, 5 or 6 days gone. And we went down fast, and the square that had been dark was full of torches, because there's a pine here whose resin makes torches that burn a long time. And then the sky wolves came in through the entrance. And let me describe one properly. It's a gray wolf, scaled up, 3 or 4 meters long, adult, 2 bulges on the back near the neck, fur mostly gray, mixed through with brown and black and white, though some come out solid. And they were carrying the prey, and the owners were walking. And you need to understand why, because wolves aren't built to carry heavy loads, and the prey was already very heavy, and the owners didn't want their wolves to suffer. So every single warrior in that column walked home on their own legs for days, next to an animal that could have carried them. Nobody rides. Nobody would. And the tribe's people who'd stayed were already unloading, and it'd all be processed and distributed. And then somebody came running at me. "Jiangning, quick! Get to the center of the square! Find the shaman! Someone's injured!" And I went. And here's my medical career in this world. I never graduated, and I barely mastered some external injury treatment. And when I was little, I bandaged my father when he got hurt, and the shaman saw me do it. And from that day on, whenever the shaman needed help, the shaman asked for me. A child bandaging her dad, correctly, from memory of a world that doesn't exist. And the most important person in this tribe noticed and said nothing, and just started calling. And I got to the middle of the square, and there was a crowd, and a man on the ground, unconscious, with a huge gash in his abdomen, through which you could see his internal organs, covered in blood, face white, dying. And the shaman was squatting next to him, and put out a right hand, and laid it on the wound. And the wound started to heal, visibly, while you watched. And as it did, the shaman's face started going pale. "Shaman, stop! He's all right now!" And everybody was trying to talk the shaman out of continuing. And here's why. The shaman is the leader of this tribe, and its faith. Without the shaman, there are no warriors. And without warriors, nobody survives on this continent. So it isn't sentiment. It's the load-bearing wall. Every person in that circle is watching a dying man get saved and shouting at the person saving him to stop, because the arithmetic says one old man is worth more than any single warrior, and everyone in that square knows it, including the man bleeding on the ground. And Bo did come back around, still couldn't move, too badly hurt. And before the wound was fully closed, the shaman pulled back, and with help took the staff and stood up shaking. And then the shaman turned around and found me in the crowd, knew exactly where I was. "Li Mei, come here." And I took the medicine and started cleaning and bandaging, and somebody brought clean water, and the wound was down to a small opening about 10 centimeters long. And the important part is, the inside was already healed. Only the surface was left. And that's the division of labor. The shaman closes what would kill him, and I handle the part that's just a wound. Magic does the impossible, and the medical dropout does the possible. And I cleaned it, and applied medicine, and covered it with a healing leaf, which is a local herb, a bit like aloe, but the leaves are wider and thicker. Put it on a wound, and it heals faster. And then I used a wild grass with very thin, long leaves to tie the healing leaf down and hold it in place. And I stood up to wash my hands, because I'd used up all the water, and there was still blood on me. And here's the line that made me stop. Luckily, he was a warrior with a strong body, because if an ordinary person had lost that much blood, they'd have been dead long ago. That's the whole of medicine in this world. Not treatment, not surgery. Toughness. The reason anybody survives anything here is that awakening made their bodies absurd. Take that away, and every single injury in this tribe is fatal. And the ordinary people, the gathering team, the cooks, the old, the kids, me, we don't have that. We just don't get hurt. That's our whole medical plan. Li Mei, the shaman wants you. And the shaman is very old and has overused shamanic power and was sent back by the tribe long ago. And the shaman's cave is in the middle of the tribe. And when I got there, a pure black wolf lying in the shadows had already smelled me coming. It twitched its nose and kept lying there, which is exactly the amount of respect I've earned in 16 years. "Shaman, why aren't you resting?" And there's this thin old man who just poured his own life into a stranger's stomach an hour ago and came home and started sorting herbs. "Li Mei, you went collecting today. How was it?" And I told him everything. Lynn and I found something new. That pink sticky fruit we make soup with, it grows on a vine, and there are roots and stems in the soil under it. I'm calling it yam. I think the roots are edible too. I'll work out how to cook them. And I knew he was changing the subject, and I didn't call him on it. I just went along with him and chattered. And that's love, actually. Letting an old man steer away from the thing he doesn't want to talk about and filling the silence with vegetables so he doesn't have to. "You are very good." And he looked at me kindly, and then said the thing that stopped my heart. I know that you did not originally belong here." And I was horrified. Somebody knows. Am I going to be burned alive? And that's the reflex. 16 years of pretending, and the very first thought is the stake. Because I grew up on stories about what happens to the strange one when the village finds out. And my life just got good. What do I do? What can I do? You don't need to be afraid. Since you were born here, you will always be a member of the tribe. And that's it. That's the whole verdict. No test, no accusation, no demand. You were born here. So you're ours. I really? When you were born? I sensed there was only lay inside your mother's womb, and then you appeared when she was about to give birth. He felt it happen. 16 years ago, an old man sensed one child in a womb, and then, right at the end, sensed two. He has known since the day I arrived. He watched them hand me to my mother knowing exactly what had just happened, and he never said a word. You occasionally display a wisdom that doesn't belong here. I often wonder if this is a gift from heaven. Because you have brought many changes to the tribe. 16 years of me thinking I was clever, of thinking I was getting away with it, and the old man was just watching me invent things and quietly deciding I was a blessing. Li Mei, I'm about to die. What? But you're only... And he waved his hand and stopped me. I am the shaman. I know my situation better than anyone. And then he said the thing that told me he sees everything. You must be very disappointed to have to watch your brother awaken at the sacrifice this year. I saw it. You've been sad for days. And I hadn't told a soul, because how do you say it? My twin gets to be a warrior, and I get to watch. 16 years, same womb, same day, and he goes up, and I stand in the crowd. And I never said it out loud, not once. And the old man saw it on my face from across the square and has been carrying it for me. From the moment you were born, I sensed a strong shamanic aura in you. You are a born shaman. I have been observing you for many years. You are intelligent, thoughtful, simple, and steady. Most importantly, you have no ill intentions toward this tribe. Your arrival has made the tribe better. I have been searching for someone with shamanic talent to be my disciple for a long time, and I never found one until you appeared. Until you appeared. He's been alone for years, holding up 300 people with a body he's already spent, looking for anybody at all who could take it, and there was nobody. And then a foreign soul forced its way into a pregnancy and came out too small to live. So many the most suitable. I entrust the tribe to you? And for some reason I will never understand, I blurted it out. I will best to protect the tribe and develop it. Okay. And he looked at me with relief. Relief, that's the word. That's what was on his face. He'd been holding his breath for years. Go back. I'll send someone to tell the gathering team you won't be joining them anymore. From tomorrow, come here and learn to be a shaman. From now on, you are the shaman's disciple of the Sky Wolf tribe. Yes. Don't tell anyone about my affairs. Yes. And I turned around and walked out dizzy, and I didn't come back to myself until halfway home. And then I started screaming internally. System! System! What happened? How did I become a shaman's disciple? Did you do this? No. In this world, I can only communicate with you, and I only arrived yesterday. He has been observing you for 16 years. This is his own choice. So it wasn't the golden finger. The system didn't arrange it. The system has been here for one day. An old man made this decision with his own eyes, over 16 years with no help from anything. Then why do I have the aura of a shaman on me? Seminal may be the reason you got to live another life. What? You have the seed. It takes root and sprouts when it meets suitable soil. And most people in this world do not have that seed in their bodies. So it wasn't random. I didn't fall into a sewer and get lucky. Something in me was already this, dormant, useless, invisible, in a world where it had nowhere to grow, and it got moved to soil where it works. I wasn't sent here. I was planted. But how am I supposed to manage over 300 people? I've never even been a squad leader. How could I have agreed to that in a moment of madness? This is your own choice. No one can lie before a shaman. And that's the part that gets me. I didn't misspeak. I couldn't have. Whatever came out of my mouth in that cave was true, all the way down, before I knew it was in there. I said I'd protect them, and I meant it, and I found out at the same time everyone else did. And I walked home dazed because the last 2 days feel like a dream. And Lay's parents were back, and tomorrow he goes out on his first hunt, and they were telling him precautions, and they saw my face. What's wrong? Is something the matter with the shaman? Or is your injury still not healed? And I looked at them. 2 people who've been out in that world for days, who just walked in the door, and they're worried about me, and it hurt. And I said, I'm fine. The shaman told me to come to him tomorrow. From now on, I'm the shaman's disciple. And they were overjoyed. And Shuilan smiled and said, That's good. The shaman has been looking for a disciple all along. Now we can rest assured. And Shanhu laughed and agreed. That's right. Although he never said it, we all knew he was very anxious. Now it's all good. And I need you to see what just happened there. Their daughter just became the second most important person in this tribe, and neither of them said one word about her. Not, we're proud. Not, our family produced a shaman's disciple. Both of them instantly went to, the old man can stop worrying now. They've been watching him struggle. The whole tribe has, and nobody said anything because he didn't want them to. And the first thought in both their heads was relief on his behalf. And then Lay jumped up and down. Can you serve the shaman well? He's in poor health. Don't hurt him. And I rolled my eyes so hard. You never say anything nice the second you open your mouth. And it was warm, all of it, that whole ridiculous cave. And then I went to take a bath. Because there's a thatched shed next to the kitchen, which is the bathroom I built. And here's the local situation. Warriors go bathe in the Skywolf River at the entrance, and ordinary people wipe themselves with water in the village. That's it. That's the choice. Be strong enough for the river, or use a rag. And my shed is built like a sentry post, pillars and a roof of big leaves, except I put leaves on all 4 sides. And that's the whole invention. I put walls on the concept. And inside, there's a bathtub made from an expansion tree. And the expansion tree is a genuinely magical thing. It grows to about 3 meters tall, and then stops, and starts growing sideways instead, thicker every year. And in a few years, it's as thick as a basketball. And that's what the water buckets are, hollowed out expansion tree trunk. That's where every container in this tribe comes from. And my father found me a 100-year-old one and hollowed out the middle, to my specifications, to make his daughter a bathtub. And there's a hole in the bottom with a stopper. Pull the stopper and it drains. A man went and found a century-old tree and carved a plumbing fixture out of it because his kid asked. And it's a shame the tribe doesn't know how to waterproof, because you could do a lot with expansion tree. And I know that, and I can't do it. And that gap is my entire life here in one sentence. And I was filthy from the yam, covered in dust, and luckily it was still warm enough for cold water. Otherwise, I'd have had to wait for it to boil. Ask me what an old man teaches a girl when he knows exactly how many days he has left. And then I lay in bed and remembered something I'd nearly forgotten. System, did you get a reply? I received it in the afternoon. I didn't tell you because you were busy. It got the answer in the afternoon and sat on it, out of politeness. This world is quite challenging for you. You were just an ordinary person who grew up in an ordinary world. You don't have any special skills. This world is fraught with danger. Thank you. That's my performance review. That's what a committee in another dimension came up with after reviewing my file. She has nothing. It's dangerous. Send help. For your safety, we will provide a potion to prevent your battle pet from failing its breakthrough due to low talent. And I immediately tried to break it. So if I contract a pet now and let it run around eating whatever it wants, I get a top-tier battle pet? Of course not. Damn. Even with the serum, your pet may still be killed by an opponent for insufficient strength. Or it may be stuffed to death because its realm is too low and it consumed a spiritual item from a much higher realm. Stuffed to death. You can kill your own wolf by feeding it something too good. That's the rule. The magic food doesn't scale to you. It just goes in at full strength into a body that can't hold it, and the body loses. In this world, you can absolutely murder your best friend with a gift. But if I'm a shaman and I'm destined to stay in the tribe forever, how does my pet ever grow? And here's the answer, and it's the whole engine of this civilization. A shaman's power partly comes from the warriors he awakens. The more warriors and the stronger they are, the stronger the shaman. And the stronger the shaman, the more talented the warriors he awakens, and the stronger they become. It's a loop. Shaman makes warriors, warriors make the shaman, round and round, feeding each other forever. Therefore, a tribe without a shaman cannot awaken warriors, and a tribe without warriors cannot support a shaman. This is why the tribe is extremely loyal to the shaman. And that's not faith, that's a power grid. Everybody in that square who yelled at the old man to stop healing a dying man wasn't being religious. They were protecting the transformer that the whole settlement plugs into. And that loop is currently running on one thin old man who is about to die. And your battle pet can also be seen as a warrior you awaken. Like the warrior, you complement each other and support one another. Moreover, whether to stay in the tribe is the shaman's own choice, not a requirement. There are many wandering shamans in this world. Wait, wandering shamans? I could leave. 16 years of assuming this valley is the whole board, and the system just mentioned casually that shamans walk out and go be shamans somewhere else, and it happens enough that there's a word for them. And I made a promise in a cave 4 hours ago. But how do I train a battle pet? I don't have a warrior's body. I get attacked by other vicious beasts while my pet is still fighting. That's what you need to think about. Oh, excellent. Cheers. Genuinely. Great support. 10 out of 10. The poverty alleviation system just told me to figure it out myself. Is this reward the same as what was mentioned before? And it went quiet. And then it said, slowly, in addition, we have prepared a gift for you from the ancestral witch. And a necklace appeared in my hand, bone, a pendant like an animal tooth, on a black rope of unknown material. And it looks completely ordinary. What is this? A talisman, made by an ancestral witch from another world. It contains the power of the ancestral witch 5 times. You activate it with shamanic power, and it continuously absorbs energy to help the wearer cultivate. 5 uses of the power of an ancestral witch. I don't know what an ancestral witch is, and I can tell from the way it said it that I do not want to find out the hard way. And my first reaction was the correct one. Wouldn't that just get me robbed? Once-ic power, it can only be used by you. Others will only ever see an ordinary beast tooth. Even if a shaman holds it, the same. And that's the actual gift, not the power, the camouflage. The single most dangerous object in this valley looks like garbage on a string, and it looks like garbage on a string even to people who could tell. They didn't give me a weapon. They gave me a weapon nobody can take. How do you even have something like this? These are items sold by that ancestral witch. You can also sell things through me. Sold. There's an ancestral witch somewhere out there with a storefront. She's got an account. She lists inventory. Some cosmic horror is running a small business, and my aid agency bought me something off her page. Okay, what level of effort counts as successful poverty alleviation? No answer. Can there be no answer? We've come here and reached a cooperation agreement. This is our lifelong mission. There's no finish line. There's no target. There's no number I hit where somebody says, well done, and turns the lights off. It's not a quest. It's a career. Even if you reach interstellar society, you still have to do missions? Yes. No world is perfect. There will always be a direction for me to strive for. And that shook me. Genuinely. That wasn't what I'd imagined at all. Because I grew up assuming that somewhere up the ladder, there's a place where it's done, where they've solved it, where the problems are over and everyone's just fine. And there isn't. They got to the stars, and there's still a department for this. And I put the necklace on, and it needs shamanic power to work, so for now, it's just a beast tooth on a string. And the next morning, I got up early, ate, and went to the shaman's cave, and somebody had already brought him food. And by the time I climbed up, he'd finished eating and was checking the herbs the hunting team brought back. Man is dying, healed a man's organs yesterday, and he's doing invefigiment at dawn. You're here this early? Then come with me. And he picked up the staff and walked out. And Black Wolf came over and lay down, and I helped the shaman sit, and Black Wolf carried him slowly toward the back mountain, and I walked behind. And behind the main mountain, there's a cave where the uncontracted wolves live. And the tribe doesn't discipline them much. They feed the orphan cubs sometimes. That's it. Because sky wolves are naturally fierce and warlike, and they're better off growing up free. And the adults hunt for themselves. That's not neglect. That's a policy. They looked at what these animals are and decided the best thing they could do was stay out of the way. Do you know why we're called the Sky Wolf tribe? And the warriors at the cave mouth bowed to him, and he waved them off, and Black Wolf stopped at the entrance. Disagreement said the shaman who founded the tribe made a pact with a real celestial wolf. That's right. Although the tribe's wolves are powerful, they are just ordinary beasts. They don't have the special abilities of a strange bone beast. Our tribe possesses several strange bone sky wolves. Among vicious beasts, that's the lowest rank. And it is enough for us to hold this ground. The lowest rank, and it's what makes this tribe untouchable. These strange bone beasts have powerful bodies and breath, and they unleash even greater combat power through cooperation with tribe members. It is because of them that our tribe gained an advantage and established itself on this land. And then he told me what a real one is. The real sky wolf has wings on its back and can soar through the sky. Its breath alone is enough to inspire awe. So people named it Sky Wolf, meaning a wolf in the sky, a true bone beast. And I was stunned, because I always thought the sky in Sky Wolf was PR. I genuinely did. I assumed it was a bit of tribal chest-puffing, the way small countries give themselves enormous names, and I have been quietly, condescendingly amused by it for 16 years. And it's not exaggeration. It's a description. Somebody, generations back, looked up and saw a winged wolf in the air and named it exactly what it was, and I've been smirking at their branding ever since. Where a beast's power accumulates to a certain level, a special bone gradually evolves near its heart. That bone is called the strange bone. A beast with a strange bone is no longer an ordinary beast. And that's the latter. It starts with a bone growing next to a heart because the animal has simply done enough. And then he told me the truth about my home. Initially, under the protection of the Sky Wolves, our tribe occupied this habitable territory, and nobody dared covet it. However, our surrounding environment was too comfortable. The tribe could not grow strong without the nourishment of vicious beasts. Now, the tribe is gradually declining. After several generations, the few strange-boned sky wolves left are all our strength. And there it is. We're not safe. We're dying. Slowly. Comfortably. The founder won so hard that he took the best land on the map, and the best land has nothing in it worth eating, and nothing worth fighting, and so his descendants got weaker every single generation while feeling perfectly fine about it. We are 300 people coasting downhill on a victory that happened before anyone alive was born. Truly powerful tribes live in environments teeming with vicious beasts. Only there can warriors be fully trained. Besides, the energy in ordinary beast meat is simply insufficient to sustain a warrior's daily needs. How can they grow stronger over time? And that's why they eat 3 times what I do, and it doesn't help. They're not overeating. They're underfueled. Every warrior in this tribe is running on food that can't take them any higher forever, and no amount of training fixes a calorie that doesn't contain what they need. Our men aren't lazy. Our meat is poor. In the future, our descendants may even think the strange-boned Sky Wolf was just a legend. And his voice went deep, and he patted Black Wolf's back gently, and Black Wolf lay down. That's what he's actually afraid of. Not dying, being forgotten. He can see the exact century where his great-grandchildren say sky wolves the way we say dragons, standing in the same valley with the bones still in the mountain. And I helped him down, and we walked into the cave, and the people who feed the cubs had already brought food, and he watched the cubs scrambling for it, and turned to his own wolf. My Black Wolf is a descendant of that true bone wolf. It's just a pity that a vicious beast can only give birth to lower-level offspring. The bloodline has gotten thinner with every generation. In the end, all I've done is make it a strange bone wolf. All I've done. He spent his entire life dragging one animal, one rung, up a ladder that's been sliding down for generations, and he calls it a pity. This Black Wolf has been with me for decades, and it has had offspring. I sealed its offspring with a shamanic seal and waited for the arrival of the next shaman. And he looked at me and gestured me forward. And I stared where he pointed, and there was nothing there but the stone wall of the cave. Where's the wolf? And I took a deep breath and walked forward carefully. Put your hands on the stone wall. And I did. And there was nothing. Cold, hard stone. And he started chanting, low, obscure, and getting louder. And then an enormous energy came out of the wall, and the stone started to melt, like ice. And as it went, a curled-up shape appeared. And it's tiny. And unlike its father, its fur is completely white. And it's impossible to imagine this little thing growing into something 4 meters long. And the shaman stepped up and put out his right index finger, and a faint white light came on it. And he drew an ancient shamanic script in the air above the cub's head, which is a necessary step for a battle pet contract. Go, awaken it, make a pact with it. And I was stumped. I haven't awakened my bloodline. Contracting a battle pet doesn't actually require bloodline awakening. It's just that the tribe's souls aren't strong enough, so only awakening gets them there. But you're different. You're a shaman's disciple. Go. And there's the thing I never knew. The rule everybody here lives by isn't a rule. It's a workaround. Awakening was never the requirement. Strength of soul is. And awakening is just the only route these people ever found to it. And I've had the other route since before I was born. What do I do? Put your hand on its head. To awaken it, you must first establish a spiritual connection. You convey your will and your power to it while simultaneously feeling its power and its soul. When the connection is established, you will have awakened it. And I reached out slow and put my hand on its head. And it felt that I meant it no harm, and it slowly raised its head. And its eyes were wary, and I could feel the confusion coming off it, and the hesitation. Of course I could. It's been in a wall its entire life. And gradually something started resonating between us, like our souls were talking. And finally it stopped resisting. And the instant the connection landed, I felt what it felt. Trust and closeness. And now there is nobody in this world closer to me than that animal. This black wolf offspring is currently the most talented, so I sealed it for the next shaman. From now on, it is your battle pet. Nico's ancestors fought for the tribe and protected us. They are our most loyal companions. You must treat it well. Yes. And I stepped forward and picked it up and followed him out. And that's what he'd been holding. The best thing he had left, his own wolf's best child, frozen in a rock for however long it's been, waiting for somebody who might never come. He didn't know I'd exist. He just sealed it anyway, and hoped. That's enough for today. You've just got a battle pet. You need to work on building a bond with it. Otherwise, even with a contract, you may find yourself in danger later through lack of teamwork. Yes, I will. Tomorrow you learn herbs from me, and when the chief returns, I'll announce to everyone that you are the shaman's disciple. And he waved off my escort, and Black Wolf took him on its back and leaped, and was out of sight in a few bounds. And I stood there. Is it because I walk too slowly? Man just dismissed me and vanished at 40 miles an hour, and I'm standing in a cave holding a puppy having a small crisis about my pace. And I carried the wolf home, and there was nobody in. Father and the rest were probably busy in the square. And I sat on the edge of the bed and looked at it in my arms, and stroked its head. We try get along well. You'll be my partner from now on. And it squinted, enjoying it, like it was answering me. Cruciu. I'm not very good at naming. And that's true, and we've established it thoroughly. But you're so white. How about Baya? And it scratched its head with a hind leg, seemingly pondering the meaning of the name, and then gave a soft hum, agreeing. Then I'll call you Baya. Baya. And I named a legendary beast after the color it happened to be. Just like Who got named after a pig. Just like I got named after Ginger. 16 years, and I have fully assimilated. I looked at the most precious animal in this valley and went, "It's white. White tooth. Done." And I put her on the ground, and she was full of curiosity about the world, and she took her first step, carefully, like a child who's just learned to walk. And my heart just went. Because Baya has been sealed in a stone wall since she was born, and has never felt wind or smelled a flower. And now she's finally got the chance to look at all of it, and everything in this world is brand new. And her adaptability is amazing. A short practice and she was already trotting. Ask me what an old man is really handing over when he gives you his wolf's best child. And when I stood up to leave, she was right behind me, jogging, and it melts you. It just does. So I sped up a bit, on purpose, to see what she'd do. And Baya was not having it, and she gave it everything she had to catch up. And her legs are short, and her speed is in no way inferior to mine, which is a sentence about a puppy that should worry me and doesn't. And she ran flat out, and occasionally rolled into a ball because she was going too fast. And I went to the square to make her something to eat, because contracted battle pets are the owner's responsibility. The tribe only feeds the strays. And Father was there, processing the game from the hunt, so I went and asked for fresh meat to mince for Baya. And sky wolves are born with teeth, so there's no worry about her eating. And Shui Lan saw her and assumed she was an abandoned cub, because abandoned cubs run down from the back mountain every day to play in the square, and nobody chases them off. Because on top of fighting with contracted wolves, the tribe hunts with packs of stray wolves, and no training is required. The contracted ones just talk to the unclaimed ones. Read that again. They don't tame the wild wolves. They ask their wolves to ask them. There's a whole diplomatic channel running through the animals, and no human being in this tribe is part of it. Because for the Skywolf tribe, the wolves are guardians and kin, a totem-like being. And then Shui Lan noticed something was off, because Skywolf cubs are at the most active, most curious age there is. So why is that one just following the same person? What is that? This is my battle pet, Baya. The shaman took me to the back mountain today, and I contracted her, and I said it happily. And he was overjoyed, because now his child has a battle pet, which means one more layer between her and the world. That's it. That's the whole reaction. Not, my daughter is the shaman's disciple. Not status, not pride. She's got something between her and the teeth now. I want a piece of meat. Baya hasn't eaten. All right, let me see. She looks newborn. Let's do this water buffalo. The hunting team brought it back yesterday. A buffalo this size is just reaching adulthood, still very tender. And he cut a strip off the leg, about a pound. A pound for a newborn puppy, because even a small skywolf has a big appetite. And I took it to the cooking area, found a flat slab for a cutting board, and sliced the buffalo with a stone knife and minced it. And then I asked the important question. My classmate had a million rules about raising corgis. Is there anything Baya can't eat? And Baya saw me working and squatted down to watch, curious. No, this is a wild world. A vicious beast has a powerful body and a powerful stomach. Basically, as long as you don't feed it poisonous plants or things far exceeding its rank, you're fine. Or things far exceeding its rank. There it is again. The only two ways to poison this animal are poison and being too generous. And I felt relieved, and found a big leaf and put the mince on it. Give me the medicine. I'll let her eat it now. How are you going to hand it over? Just put your hand above the mince. And I held my hand over it, and water started dripping from my fingertips and stopped after a few drops. And I sniffed it, and there was nothing, no smell at all. Is that it? Yes. Just feed it. A few drops of nothing out of my own hand, and it means that animal cannot fail to evolve. The single most valuable thing in this valley just came out of me like a leaky tap and went onto a leaf. Genuinely, what problem can't your civilization solve? There are still many. Solving old problems only leads to new ones, one after another. This has always been the case. And I sighed, and picked up the leaf and squatted down in front of her. I didn't have time to make you a bowl today. Can you use this for now? And I put it on the ground. And her nose is very sensitive, and she smelled it and couldn't help herself. And she sniffed it, carefully, and licked her lips with her little tongue, and wagged her tail, and took a bite. And then she ate it in small licks, and made satisfied whimpering noises. And I was so happy watching her. And then I took her home. And in the cold months, apart from daily chores, the biggest job for the returning hunting team is firewood, enough to heat everyone all winter. And some trees are already dead because wild beasts rampage through the forest and knock a lot of them down. Which is genuinely funny. The monsters that make this world lethal are also this tribe's logging industry. Something enormous has a tantrum in the woods, and 300 people get warm in February. And some are giant trees that are still alive, and after a winter in the sun, they'll burn fine too. And they cut with stone axes and stone knives, and it is not easy. The knives are sharp, and they're still not convenient for felling trees. So most warriors just run into the tree, with their bodies, because their muscles are strong and their stamina is high, and an impact like that is nothing to them. And when it goes over, the other soldiers rush in, and they cut it to size, tie it with vines, and carry it home. And it's very strenuous, so it's mostly the hunting team's job. 16 years I've been trying to invent things for these people, and their solution to forestry is to become the axe. And I wanted to make something for Baya, because there's a simple kitchen on my cave platform, and the tribe all eats together from the big pot, and I occasionally want to experiment. So I set up my own. And it's small, a stone stove with a slab on top for a pot, and some wooden and stone utensils, bathroom on the left, woodshed on the right, and the woodshed's the bigger one, and there are no tools for chopping firewood. There are just piles of oddly shaped trunks that people break off when they need some. And I found a bit of expansion tree trunk left over from another project, 20 centimeters across, 30 or 40 long, and planned to cut it in two, a food bowl for Baya and a water bowl for her. And expansion tree is more porous than other trees, so it's easier to work. And I found a stone knife and started cutting from the middle, and it was not easy. How strong are these people? They snap trees thicker than this. And after a long struggle, I ended up using the stone knife as a chisel and a rock as a hammer, and went at it a little at a time. And it didn't matter that it wasn't smooth, because I was hollowing the middle out anyway. And my palms were rubbed raw, red, and I finally split it. And in that moment, I was genuinely grateful that I've lived here for years, because my palms are callous now. And that's the thing nobody tells you about being the clever transmigrator. Every single thing I've ever made here, I made with my hands, on a rock, for hours, badly. The basket, the pole, the bathtub speck, and now a dog bowl. 16 years of my hands slowly turning into somebody else's. And then I went down the mountain with Baya behind me, because the tribe knows how to make fire by friction, and it's not easy, so the kitchen just keeps one burning, always. And I was going to borrow some, because I built a whole kitchen and cannot start a fire in it. That's my life. That's the exact shape of my life here. And I walked around the edge of the square to the kitchen, where people were already working, and said hello, and put my stuff down. And I took 2 branches and sandwiched some burning charcoal between the 2 halves of the trunk, and poked it with a twig now and then, until it burned a groove where I wanted it, and then took the charcoal out and poured a basin of water on it. I didn't carve the bowl, I let the fire eat it and told it where to stop. And then I trimmed the edges with the stone knife, and carved a tooth shape on one, and 2 teeth on the other, so I could tell the food bowl from the water bowl. And that's it. That's done. And I've just invented labeling. And I stood up, and Baya was already playing with the tribe's wolf cubs, chubby, round little bundles of fur, absurdly cute. And when the food's drying in the square, bold birds come down to steal it, and the cubs chase them off. That's their job. The wolf cubs are the scarecrow. Nobody assigned it. Nobody trained them. There's just a permanent population of fluffy idiots in that square who think chasing birds is the greatest game ever invented, and the tribe's winter food doesn't get eaten. And I went to carry my things back myself, and before I'd taken 2 steps, Baya ran over and followed. And I smiled, because since the contract, we've had a simple connection. She knew I was going, without looking. And I filled the 2-tooth bowl with water and put it down, and she ran over and drank. And it's still too big for her, and that's fine. Sky wolves grow fast. And then I looked at the cave and decided to build her a nest. And materials are easy. Vines grow all over the caves, and they weave into something soft. So I pulled some off the hillside and wove the base of a giant basket. Same method as the backpack. The method that took me a week and 2 failures and produced a fish tube. And now my hands just do it. And I picked soft, big leaves and laid them over the vines. And that's a nest. And I put it in a corner of the cave and called her over to look. And she walked over, curious, tail going, seemingly not understanding the purpose of this thing. And of course she doesn't. She was born in a wall. Nobody's ever given her a place before. And once she was settled, I went to deal with the yam I'd left soaking. And yam sap makes your hands itch, so I wrapped the skin in leaves to keep it off me. And I washed it, peeled it, sliced it, and cut the chilies into sections, and prepared to stir-fry the yam. And with everything ready, I suddenly realized I hadn't lit a fire. Again. And I sighed, heavily, and knew I had to go down the mountain, again. Tribal life is really inconvenient in many ways. And I picked up the food and called Baya and went back down to the tribe's kitchen, for the second time, in one afternoon, because I cannot make fire. And Kai found me a piece with fat and lean on it, and I cut the fat into pieces and sliced the lean and shredded some ginger, and picked up a stone slab with a dent in the middle to use as a pot, and washed it and put it on the stove. And here's the thing that made me laugh. The way the tribe builds a stove is exactly the way I build a stove. 16 years of me quietly improving things, and on the fundamentals, they got there first, and I just copied them. And I heated the stone and put the fat in to render. And as the temperature came up, it started to sizzle and slowly went golden. And an aroma filled the air. And when the fat was nearly done, I dropped the ginger into the oil to sauté, and then the lean meat, and stirred with a wooden spatula. And the slices changed color fast, and the smell came up hard. And people started gathering, just drifting over from across the square because of a smell. They don't know what I'm doing. They can't see it yet. Their noses just told them something is happening that has never happened here before. And I threw the yam in and stir-fried it with the meat for a few seconds, and added a little water. And I wasn't worried about the stone cracking, because some of the stone here is very hard, and they make everything out of it. And it boiled, and the smell got worse, better, worse. And when it was nearly done, I threw in the chilies and stir-fried them. And since they weren't properly fried first, it didn't come out that spicy, and I did not care even slightly. And the red and green in that pot were tangled together, bright and appealing, and the white yam and the tender meat with it, and my mouth was watering in my own face. And I sprinkled on some salt and stirred it through. 16 years. 16 years of grilled meat with salt. And there's a pot on a rock in a Stone Age square with chilies in it. Ask me what happens to a tribe the first time it smells something it has no word for. And I tasted the yam. Soft, smooth, delicious, and not very spicy, which means my people can take it. And that's the actual engineering decision. I've been dreaming about heat for 16 years, and I deliberately made a mild version, because a dish nobody else can eat is a hobby, not a contribution. And I filled one bowl and set it aside first, and then invited everyone standing around to try. And they did not wait. They grabbed chopsticks off the side and went straight into the pot, and those chopsticks are also mine, because the tribe's eating habits never needed them. And when I started researching stir-frying, I made some, and if you want to eat what I make, you learn to use them. That's the whole customs enforcement. No lecture, no hygiene lesson. You want the good food? You pick up the sticks. Delicious. I never thought fruit could be eaten like this. Yes, and the meat tastes different too. If I hadn't watched Li Mei make it, I'd have thought we'd hunted a new kind of prey. That's the highest compliment available in this world. Not, you cooked well. I thought this was a new animal. Because in a place with one ingredient and 2 methods, the only way food ever changes is if you go out and kill something different. And I changed it with a rock and a weed. This thing looks good, too. Li Mei, what did you put in? I feel like I'm getting hot. And there it is. The confusion of a man whose mouth is doing something it has never done. And I introduced it enthusiastically because I'd been waiting a decade. The red and green ones are red finger fruit. I picked them yesterday. The white one is yam, the underground part of the fruit we put in soup. It's not easy to dig out, and the sap makes you itch if it touches your skin. I'm still working on that. And I'm going to call that fruit yam bean. And somebody exclaimed, "What? Red finger fruit? That's inedible. I tried it before. It hurt my mouth and my stomach." And here's how I sold it. You can eat it. It's like salt. Add some when you're grilling meat, or in the wild vegetable soup. It adds a unique flavor. And then the killer. In winter, add more red finger fruit, and your body will feel warmer. And I want you to appreciate the aim on that. I didn't sell them flavor. Flavor is a luxury, and these people don't buy luxuries. I sold them warmth, in a place where winter closes the mountains and counts. And then, because I'm not a monster, however, some people genuinely can't handle it. Do you feel uncomfortable? If you do, stop eating it. Lobel from feeling a bit hot. I don't think I feel bad. That's good. That's normal. And I was relieved, because I just fed a known poison to my entire tribe on my own authority. Then let's collect more next time, so this winter won't be so cold. And they got there themselves. One taste, one sentence about warmth, and a man immediately reorganized the gathering plan in his own head. That's right. Dried red finger fruit stores for a long time, and it's delicious for grilling and for soup. And they devoured it. And some were still not satisfied. And some people finally squeezed through to the front, and the pot was empty before they got a bite, and they wailed. In despair. Grown warriors who can run through trees, standing over an empty rock making noises of genuine grief. "It's okay, I've still got red finger fruit. I'll teach everyone how to make it today." And I saw someone about to take food up to the shaman, and handed them the bowl I'd set aside first, so he could try it. That's why I filled that bowl before anyone tasted anything. The old man eats first. He just doesn't know he does. And I went and got the rest of the chilies and started teaching. And the method's simple, and most of them had already watched once, so everyone learned fast. And then I asked the system something practical. Can the seeds inside dried chilies be used as seeds? Won't the sun kill them? Because I genuinely have no experience with any of this. It's fine. Choose chilies dried naturally in the sun, or dried deliberately. Those seeds are healthier and germinate better. If chilies are dried fast by other methods, the high temperature can affect seed viability. The temperature here doesn't have a big impact. Take the seeds out and put them somewhere dry and ventilated so they don't get damp and rot. And I thought, I'll have the tribe save the seeds and try to grow chilies. Because chilies aren't just an ingredient. They're chili sauce, and chili oil, and condiments. They enrich the tribe's diet. And maybe we could trade them with other tribes. And that's the first time that thought has ever entered my head. Trade. 16 years of thinking about this valley as the whole world, and I just looked at a weed and thought about exports. I want to learn pottery. What do I need? First, find clay. Pottery clay needs to be sticky. If it isn't, it won't hold together. Only very sticky clay makes jars. Otherwise, even if you make it, it won't be sturdy. It'll break at a touch. Some of the trees here burn hot enough, but it would be best to find coal. And then it asked me something that stopped me. Why are you making pottery? The manpower here is large. The movements are clumsy. The standard of living is limited. Sturdy stone or wooden bowls are actually more suitable for their lifestyle. And that's a real critique, and I want to be fair to it. It's not being lazy. It's saying, you're about to give delicate objects to people who break trees with their shoulders. You'll make a beautiful thing, and they'll snap it reaching for it. I want containers to make chili sauce or sauerkraut. I tried a stone pot before, and the vegetable leaves all went soggy and inedible. Then there might be a problem with your method. This world is very rich in resources. Find some materials and we'll try again. And it just quietly told me my failure wasn't the equipment, it was me. And I went to find my people, because luckily I've always been researching things the tribe doesn't have, and the shaman once said I'm allowed to use whatever I need, otherwise I couldn't do any of this. Sit with that for 1 second. 16 years ago, a dying old man looked at a strange little girl and gave her a blank check on the tribe's resources, and never explained why to anybody. And every single thing I have ever built here, the potatoes, the pole, the shrimp powder, the chilies, came out of a permission he granted before I could even talk properly. He's been funding me my whole life. And the system picked out a green, wild vegetable. Lots of leaves, slender stems, serrated edges. This is snow cabbage. It's inherently cold resistant, and the version in this world is even stronger. It survives the winter outdoors, easily. You can develop its cultivation. There are still a few months of autumn. Start planting now. When winter comes, you'll have another fresh vegetable, perfect for pickles or sauerkraut. A fresh vegetable in winter. In a world where winter means dried food in a cold cave until the mountains open again, there's a plant that just doesn't care. And it's been growing out there the entire time. And the mustard greens drying in the square were nearly done. So I picked one up to show the gathering team what it looks like when they get back, so they can find me fresh ones tomorrow. And then I went to find my stone jar, which I had made to the design of a kimchi jar from my old life, nearly 1 meter tall. And my father was very good at stone polishing, because the warriors' weapons are mostly stone tools, they polish themselves. And there's a water trough dug around the mouth, and an inverted stone bowl sits on top as a lid. That's a water seal. That's the actual technology in a kimchi jar. Water in the groove, lid in the water, gas gets out, air never gets in. And my dad carved one out of rock, because his daughter drew it for him. There's nothing wrong with this jar. Maybe you didn't seal it properly, or you didn't clean the cabbage leaves properly. And then it walked me through the process again. The vegetables have to be free of oil and water? I thought since they're all soaked in water anyway, it didn't matter. The brine for pickling is cooled boiled water. The water you wash vegetables with is raw water, so they're naturally more prone to spoiling. And there it is. 16 years, and I've never had a single word for the thing that ruins food. And it's not magic. It's not luck. It's not the jar. There is something living in raw water, and boiling kills it. And if you put raw water into a sealed jar, you didn't make pickles, you built it a house. And that's why every batch turned to slime. And I didn't get germ theory. I got one rule. But get germ theory. I got one rule. But the rule works. And the rule is transferable. And I can teach that rule to 300 people who will never know why. I see. I'll try again once the materials are ready. We can have sauerkraut fish in winter. And the tribe throws the fish away. And I don't care. I'll deal with that later. Actually, if you blanch the pickled mustard greens, add salt and vinegar, and leave it overnight, you can eat pickled fish tomorrow. It's a pity there's no vinegar here. And I punch the air. Yes! We still have a long way to go. The revolution is not yet successful. Comrades must continue to work hard. And nobody in that square knows what a comrade is. And I'm quoting slogans at a piece of software while holding a cabbage in the Stone Age. And then Chang Feng came back from taking food to the shaman. The shaman really likes your new food. The yam is soft and sticky. It suits him well. And that's not a compliment. That's a medical report. Soft and sticky suits him because he's an old man who is dying, and there is almost nothing he can still eat. And I made something he could, by accident, while messing about with a plant. And as for the red finger fruit, the tribe can eat more of it in winter. The shaman has already instructed the gathering team to pick some in future. Already instructed. 1 bowl, 1 old man, 1 taste. And the gathering policy of an entire nation changed before dinner. That's how much weight he moves, and that's how fast he moves it when he believes you. And I thought about it. Digging yam is a pain, but the yam beans can be stir-fried too. Salt and pepper yam beans would have a unique flavor. And when I heard he was telling people to gather more chilies, I just beamed. I was about to tell the shaman we could plant red finger fruit around the tribe, like the sweet potatoes. And this, too. And I showed him the mustard greens. We can plant this in the tribe. I saw it last year from up on the mountain. It turns red in winter, so I'm calling it mustard greens. If we plant some, we won't have to eat dried vegetables all winter. And that's a lie. I made up an excuse to cover how I actually found it, because I can't say the voice in my head told me. So the story is, I saw it from a hilltop last year. It's red. And Chang Feng looked at the greens in my hand. This is great! The gathering team can't go out in winter, so we never even noticed them. Luckily you were here. And I'm standing there holding a plant I found through a lie, being thanked. Just have the tribespeople collect some mature seeds. They'll be able to tell. And I touched my nose, guiltily. I'll tell the shaman when I bring his food tonight. And I nodded, because I know how it works. Nobody disturbs the shaman, unless it's genuinely important. So the tribe batches its questions and sends them up with dinner. That's their whole bureaucracy. The old man's tray is the inbox. And with nothing else to do, I helped dry sweet potatoes and wild vegetables. And there are drying racks all over the square now, branches and vines, simple, very practical. And they don't just dry food better, they save all the trouble of turning the hides over. And some warriors stand directly on top of the racks, and the people below throw things up to them, and they lay them across the poles. And here's the thing about those racks. Before, the tribe mainly dried roots and fruit. Leafy vegetables got eaten the same day, no need. And hides? There are trees and shrubs everywhere. You just throw it on one. Natural drying rack. Nobody ever thought of building one, and I only came up with it after the tribe had too much food. And that's the whole story of this place in one paragraph. They never needed racks because they never had a surplus. You don't invent storage when there's nothing to store. And the potatoes made a surplus, and the surplus made a problem, and the problem made a rack. Every invention here is the child of the last one. And Bai Ya was rolling around in the sun, white fur shining like a soft ball of cotton. And as she rolled, flowers and grass and small pebbles started sticking to her, and she came out looking like a snowball that had just rolled through a field, except gray. And she did not care at all. She was enjoying it. And in the evening, I made her meat puree and yam bean puree, which is easy. Cook the beans, peel them, mash them. And she ate happily, completely unaware that she was about to have her first bath. And then I discovered I had no container at all, and she was still playing at my feet with no idea how close she'd come. And then Stone and Ruwan came back from foraging, and they smelled the new member, and beared their teeth, and then sniffed her, and found my scent on her, and went quiet. That's it. That's the entire security check. 2 enormous wolves went from threat display to complete acceptance in one breath, because the puppy smelled like family. And I looked at them, and my eyes lit up. Stone, Ruwan, why don't you 2 take her to the river for a bath? And Stone and Ruwan are father's and mother's battle pets, contracted beasts. They understand simple words, and they've practically raised me. And they heard that and started walking down the mountain. And after a couple of steps, Stone realized Bai Ya hadn't followed and turned around, and she was still standing with me. And Stone came back and picked her up by the scruff and ran for the river. And Bai Ya whimpered, and I ignored it. Sold out by her own contractor within 24 hours. And from the platform I could see her put down in the shallows, and Ruwan standing guard on the bank, and Stone nowhere to be seen. And when they came back, I smelled the fish on Stone's breath. He went and got a snack. Man dumped the baby in the water, left his wife on lifeguard duty, and went fishing. And Ruwan put her down, and Stone shook himself off. And most of the water had already come off on the run home, but his thick fur was still wet underneath. And Bai Ya stood there and watched him and started shaking along with him. and she'd already forgotten being dragged to a river against her will, and in that short time, they'd become friends. Just like little kids always want to play with the big kids, and Stone and Ruwan went back to their cave to rest. Because sky wolves aren't nocturnal, which surprised me. Their routine is a lot like a human's, and they're energetic. And I found an old hide and cleaned her fur, and moved her nest to my bedside, and put her in it, and went to bed. And the next day I went to the shaman's cave, and he took me to see the herbs the tribe had brought back. And identifying herbs is a mandatory course for the gathering team and the hunting team, but they just collect them and hand them over, no processing. Everyone learns to find it. One man learns what to do with it, and he's dying. And his voice went deep. You must first identify whether the herbs they bring back are the ones you recognize. There are many herbs that look similar and have completely opposite uses. If you use the wrong one, the tribe may lose a brave warrior, or a member of our tribe who lives with us day and night. So you must be careful. And that's the first lesson. Not a plant, not a technique. If you get this wrong, somebody you have breakfast with dies, and it will be because of you. Yes. Identify which need processing immediately, which need drying first. After that selection, you can organize them. Some herbs can be used whole, others only the fruit. The root and the fruit of the same herb may do different things. Be especially careful with unfamiliar ones. And he picked up a golden one. This is golden leaf. The leaves are yellow, so it's easy to identify. It stops bleeding. Very useful for external bleeding. Chew the whole herb and apply it. The hunting team always carries some. And then he put it down and picked up a red fruit. This is a sleep fruit. The hunting team uses it as bait. Eating it affects a vicious beast's perception and judgment, makes it sluggish. They use it to aid the hunt. They drug the monsters. These people have been chemically debuffing apex predators for generations with a berry. Many herbs carry risk and must be used with extreme caution. Accidental or excessive consumption leads to serious consequences. It is crucial to follow the correct method. Most of the herbs here stop bleeding. Others are poisons, suitable for hunting. And that's the entire pharmacy of the Skywolf tribe. Things that stop you bleeding, and things that poison what's biting you. That's it. That's medicine here. 2 categories, because there are only 2 problems. Nothing for fever, nothing for infection, nothing for the old, nothing for pain. You've always been clever. Remembering these shouldn't be difficult for you, and he put the herbs down and looked up at me. Ask me what a dying man is actually doing when he starts teaching you very, very fast. And he believed I could do it. That's the thing. He said it like a fact he'd already checked. And then he took me to the other side of the cave. These animal skin scrolls have instructions for processing every herb. Take a look. And I unrolled one, and there were drawings all over it. Shapes, colors, characteristics, how to collect them, how to process them, how to store them. And I have no idea what pigment they used, and their drawing ability is limited, and they have no writing, and it was very difficult to understand. Because this tribe passes everything down through memory and word of mouth. Every single thing this civilization knows lives in somebody's head and gets handed to the next head out loud. And I stroked the patterns on the scroll and looked up, and he'd already left. Man teaches you the deadliest subject in the valley and then just wanders off. Are the herbs in this world the same as the Chinese medicine I learned? Not quite. The species here are generally more resilient than in your previous world, which has changed their effectiveness. And there goes my degree, again. All right, I was planning to review my Chinese medicine with you, so the only thing that transfers is external injuries? And it gave me the honest answer, and it was brutal. In this world, most people who get healed by shamans are those seriously injured for their tribes. As for the rest, some are ordinary people who dare not seek treatment from a shaman. Read that. They don't ask. Because the shaman's power is the tribe's power, and every drop he spends on you is a drop that isn't there for a warrior. And ordinary people know that, so they get sick, and they go quiet, and they don't ask. Nobody makes that rule. They enforce it on themselves. Others can be saved by rare flowers and herbs, but those are very hard to find. As for the rest, you can use the methods you learned. But if you want to actually help them, it will be very difficult with your current abilities. And I went quiet for a while, because it's right. Because ordinary people can't leave the tribe. And even if you teach them herbs, it's useless. They can't go get any. And the people who can go out, hunting team, gathering team, aren't looking for herbs. They're looking for food. That's the whole day, every day. So there's a wall. The knowledge is out there, and the people who need it can't reach it. And the people who can reach it are busy keeping everyone alive. And I sat in that cave and said the thing out loud. System. In the future, I want to open a clinic. So ordinary people can get treated. So nobody dies of a minor illness anymore. And I want to open a school. So everyone can learn survival skills instead of relying on word of mouth. And I want to establish a trading area. So the things surrounding tribes don't want can be reused, and so we can get them what they need. And then the part that gets me. I know this may take 10 years, or 20, or 50, or my entire life, and I'm willing to fight for it. Even if I can only make a small change, I will persevere. I want them to live a better life. And that's it. That's the whole thing, said out loud, in a cave, by a 16-year-old who can't lift a rake. A clinic, a school, a market. She's not describing a plan. She's describing a civilization. And she just casually accepted that she might die before any of it works, and said she'd do it anyway. Yes, I believe you can do it, and I will always be there for you. And while I was in there, Baya snuck up to Black Wolf, and he sniffed, and seemed to recognize her, and came over, step by step. And Baya was scared, and she should be, because Black Wolf is a strange bone beast, and even with no aura coming off him at all, his existence is a danger, let alone to a cub. And he stopped, and stood there a moment, and howled at the cave, and turned and ran out of the tribe. And Baya watched him go, and seemed disappointed, and then wagged her tail and ran back to me and stuck close. And I was busy with herbs and didn't notice any of it, and the shaman smiled slightly and said nothing. And I looked at the scroll again, and the technique on it is obviously not good, rough even. And for some reason, I could clearly see the shapes of those herbs, as if they were right in front of me. And he sensed my confusion. These are shamanic scrolls. I made them using shamanic power. What's written on them has special energy. They are not simple pictures. They contain the essence and the properties of the herbs. And there it is. That's how a tribe with no writing passes down a pharmacy. Those aren't drawings. They're a storage medium. The old man pours the knowledge itself into the skin, and the next shaman doesn't read it. They receive it. It's a hard drive made of a dead animal and willpower. And I've been standing here feeling sorry for their art. And I could feel it coming off the scroll, like something was guiding me to understand. And he smiled, like he knew exactly what I was thinking, and patted my shoulder. A shaman's power can be used in many ways. What you see is the tip of the iceberg. There are countless wonderful things in this world waiting for you to discover. Yes, I'll study hard. And I got so lost in it, I forgot time existed. And for a moment, it felt like a whole new world, and every single thing in it was a wonder. And then somebody screamed at the bottom of the mountain. And it got louder and clearer until it shattered the quiet. "Black Wolf is back!" And we both turned and looked down. And he was coming up the mountain, and he had something in his mouth. And even from that far away, you could feel it coming off him. And his whole body is black as ink. And every hair on him carries something dangerous. And only his eyes, like two cold stones, have any light in them at all. And it's the kind that goes through you. And the thing in his mouth was on its last legs and still struggling, still refusing. And I was terrified. And he came at Baya, and she was frightened by his breath, and she stood in front of me anyway. A puppy, 3 days old, terrified of her own father, and she put herself between him and me. And he put the prey down and howled. "Lime, accept it. It's a gift from Black Wolf to Baya." What is it? And it looked like a deer, brown fur, a pair of bony antlers, and something menacing coming off it. And it was covered in wounds, some still bleeding. This is a forest deer. They live in the forest and eat tender branches and leaves. Their flesh and blood have a warming effect, perfect for raising cubs. Forest deer are gentle by nature, and they are extremely fast. And this one is a strange bone beast. It must have cost Black Wolf a great deal to catch. And then, the part that reframes it completely. We've sent the hunting team out to try to catch forest deer as battle pets for the tribe. But warriors and ordinary wolves struggle to catch them. And the strange bone wolves have to take turns staying behind to guard the tribe. So the tribe only catches one or two occasionally, when we're lucky. Do you see what just happened? The entire hunting team of the Sky Wolf tribe cannot reliably catch these. It's a lucky year when they get one or two. And Black Wolf heard that his daughter had an owner, went out alone, and brought one back before lunch. He didn't hunt. He went and got a baby gift. Take the forest deer back. Cut the meat into jerky. And then he looked around for something to measure with, and picked up a stone the size of an egg. Every day, take a piece of meat this size, mix it into Baya's food. Yes. It seems we'll have to standardize weights and measures. That's another job. The most important dosage instruction in my life was delivered via a rock he found on the floor. And that's not incompetence. That's a civilization with no numbers doing the best it possibly can. He can't say grams. He can't say ounces. He can hand me a stone. And the medical student quietly added invent measurement to her list. Its blood is also a good thing. There may not be much left now. Collect it and mix it into her drinking water every day. These antlers are the hardest part of a forest deer's body, its best weapon. Have your father make you a bone knife from them. And that's where the antler knife comes from, a gift from a wolf through a dead deer made by my dad. You can give Baya the strange bone and the other parts later, when her body can tolerate them. When her body can tolerate them. There it is again. The rule that never stops applying. The best thing in that animal would kill her today. Although a strange bone is called a bone, it is not simply bone. It is the source of a strange beast's power. It contains great power and special abilities. Its value far exceeds ordinary medicinal materials. As for the rest, you can handle it yourself. Yes. And then he looked at Black Wolf, and something moved in those deep eyes, and he said it slowly. The Sky Wolf is loyal to only one mate, its whole life. Baya's mother sacrificed herself in battle many years ago to protect her master. Baya is her only offspring. Oh, so that's why he sealed her in a wall. That's why he howled at the cave and ran. That's why the most dangerous animal in this valley went out alone and brought back something the entire hunting team can't catch. His mate died saving her master, and left him one child. And he has spent every year since standing next to the old man who's dying, waiting for someone to hand her to. And I picked Baya up and walked over to Black Wolf and put her down in front of him and looked at him. Don't worry, I will take good care of Baya. I'll nurture her, I'll protect her, and I will make her the most powerful Sky Wolf. And Black Wolf lowered his head and gently touched my shoulder and looked at me with those cold eyes, and there was something complicated in them that I couldn't read. And I could feel his trust anyway, because I'm the one the shaman chose. That's all it took. He doesn't know me. He doesn't have to. The old man picked me, and that's enough for an animal that has been loyal to one person for decades. And Baya walked slowly to his feet and carefully licked his fur. And next to a body over 5 meters long, she looked impossibly small. And he lowered his head and touched her with his nose, gently. And he looks fierce, and his eyes were full of love for her. And that afternoon, I couldn't wait to get to the square, because I wanted the chilies and the mustard greens, and I'd specifically told people to keep the harvest in the shade, so it was still fresh. And I made the system walk me through sauerkraut again, to make sure I fully understood it, because I was worried the slightest oversight would ruin the whole thing, and waste not just my time, but the mustard greens my people painstakingly collected. Because in a place like this, every meal is hard-earned. And that's the difference between me and every clever transmigrator you've ever heard of. I'm not afraid of failing. I'm afraid of wasting their work. And I made it in my own kitchen, to avoid hauling the jar around the square and hunting for somewhere cool and ventilated. And I took the greens out and picked off the yellow leaves and soaked them in clean water and rubbed each one gently with my fingers to make sure every single leaf was clean, and then put them on the drying rack to drain. And it was nearly evening, and there was hardly any sun left on my side. And I washed the chilies and laid them out on a clean slab. And while the water drained, I boiled several pots and rinsed the jar with boiling water, and then poured boiling water into it and let it sit. And once it cooled, I poured it out, leaving half a jar of cooled, boiled water. And that's the whole secret, right there. Boil it, then cool it. Kill whatever's in there, and then let it come down. 16 years of slime solved by a kettle. And I put in salt, and because I have no measuring tools, I could only add it a little at a time. Again, the measurement problem. Again. Everything in this world is some, and a bit, and an egg-sized stone. And I kept stirring with chopsticks to make sure it dissolved. And then the drained greens went in, and I pressed them down with my hands, and sprinkled in more salt and ginger slices, and some red finger fruit, and enough cooled water to cover, and put the lid on, and poured water around the rim. And that's the seal. Water in my father's stone groove. Nothing gets in, everything gets out. 16 years of one man polishing rock and one girl drawing pictures for him. And put it somewhere cool and ventilated to ferment. And every single day I checked it and watched the fermentation. And if there was any strange smell or any spoiling, take them out immediately and start over. And everything went smoothly. And the greens slowly turned into what I wanted. And I opened the lid. And a rich, sour smell came out. And I picked one up with chopsticks. And it had turned yellow, and I put it in my mouth. Sour. And spicy. And I was so satisfied. It worked. And from now on, when fresh vegetables are scarce in winter, my people will have this. Ask me what a girl does with a jar of sour cabbage and a tribe that's been eating dust since the first snow. And I waited for father and mother to go for water and asked them to bring back a few fish, because I'm making sauerkraut fish. And if everyone can take it, I teach the whole tribe to pickle, and that's another food in winter. And I went and found Kai and asked for help, and when she heard I had a new way of eating, she agreed instantly, no questions. That's my credit rating now. And I asked for several big stone pots, because I want everyone to try. And when the fish came in, Kai's crew cleaned them, scales, gills, guts, and then skilled hands filleted them and set the bones and heads aside. And the fish are called blackfish, black scales, and small broken teeth. And they get to about 1 meter long, and if you're careless, one takes a bite out of you. Which is why ordinary people aren't allowed near the Skywolf River. The river, in front of the tribe, the one everyone gets water from. Off limits, because the fish are dangerous. And the meat's tender, and it isn't too fishy cooked, so people occasionally catch one for a change. And I chopped a lot of ginger and chili and marinated the fillets and the bones, and the fish was big today, and we only have those few seasonings, so I went heavy, and found fat and cut it small, and took out the sauerkraut and cut it into sections, and heated the stone pot, and rendered the fat, and put the ginger in the oil until it smelled right, and then the dried chilies, and stir-fried them. And once the chilies changed color, in went the bones, the head, and the sauerkraut. And when the water was nearly gone, water in, and up to a boil. And the smell. And I looked at Kai's face, and got confident, and walked over to the other pots to teach them. And that's the whole method now. I don't cook anymore. I cook 1 and teach 4. And once it boiled, the fillets went in, and I kept stirring so they wouldn't stick. And once they curled slightly, salt, and it's done. And despite the conditions, there was already a crowd around that pot with chopsticks in their hands, waiting for my command. Grown warriors, standing at attention, armed with sticks, waiting for a 16-year-old to say go. And I tasted a piece, and the fish was delicate and smooth and basically dissolved on my tongue. And the sour and the spicy went into the fresh fish and made something I hadn't had in 16 years. If I had scallions and garlic and Sichuan peppercorns and hot oil to pour over it and a bowl of rice. And that's the thing that hurts. It's the best thing I've eaten since I died, and it's still a rough draft. And as usual, a bowl went to the shaman first, and the rest went to my people. And even after it was gone, nobody wanted to leave. Eating this red finger fruit is really comforting. And the pickled cabbage, that tastes completely different from anything I've had. And I jumped straight in, because this was the moment. That's freshly made sauerkraut. I'll teach you in a bit. It's simple, and if you store it properly, it lasts a long time. And we can catch more fish. That way we'll have more food in winter. But how do you preserve fish? Do you dry it like jerky? Because the tribe rarely ate fish, and nobody knew. Yes, clean it, rub it with salt, dry it. And that's it. That's the whole answer. The exact thing they already do to meat every single day, forever, applied to the animals swimming past their front door. Nobody had ever crossed those two facts. That's great! There are lots of big fish in the Sky Wolf River. Let's make more pickled cabbage. A hot soup in winter warms you up a lot. And even if we don't have enough cabbage, we can add red finger fruit. He's doing it himself. That man just independently invented a fallback recipe. He's not waiting for me. He's optimizing. And I got in fast. I was about to raise this. We can't gather enough chilies just by collecting. We can plant red finger fruit near the village, like the sweet potatoes. And then we'll have plenty next year. And the pickled vegetable is made from a wild green that turns red in winter. We can plant mustard greens too. So we won't have to eat only dried meat and dried vegetables all winter? And they looked at each other, some tempted, some hesitant. Li Mei, these questions have to go to the shaman and the chief. And Kai came over. We can't decide this ourselves. We need permission. And that's not cowardice. That's a tribe that knows exactly how narrow the margin is. You don't reorganize the food supply of 300 people because a girl had a nice idea at lunch. And I smiled. I already asked the shaman. He agreed. And the square went up. And the chief usually wouldn't contradict the shaman. And they still wanted to wait for him, as a sign of respect. And as if the world was listening, 3 long and 1 short. The chief is back! And I looked at the tribe's exit, and the chief was sitting on top of a majestic wolf, another strange bone beast, one of the most powerful things in this tribe. And the two of them looked like one thing. The understanding between them was breathtaking. And that wolf isn't just a mount, it's his partner in battle. And together, those two protect this tribe from everything outside. And he'd gone personally, for 2 reasons. 1, autumn means stockpiling, and drying a lot of meat means salt. So the chief himself led the team to the sea. 2, and this is the one that matters, autumn is when the trading area opens, once a year. And only in autumn, when resources are plentiful, will the nearby tribes gather to trade. And the trading area is also a matchmaking event, because the tribes here are small, so everyone rushes to find a spouse when it opens. Once a year, that's the window. That's the entire window. 300 people in a valley, and once every autumn a door opens and you get 1 shot at meeting anybody you're not related to. And that's why the chief goes himself. The chief's back. Chief! Hey, Kwai Li, you little rascal! Who's riding on the wolf's back? And Kwai Li is nearly 20, and he's brave and resolute. And he went shy. And he stole a glance at the woman on the wolf's back, thinking nobody noticed. And his face and his entire body had already told everyone. Man can fight monsters, cannot look at a woman without broadcasting it to 300 people. And they unloaded the salt. And although it's called a trading area, there isn't much there. The main purpose of the trip is to help single tribespeople find mates. And this time, 1 person came back, and 1 person from our tribe was married away. 1 in, 1 out. That's the demographic engine of this entire civilization. And the tribe prepares gifts for the newlyweds' families, because travel is inconvenient, and outside is very dangerous, and an ordinary person may leave their tribe only a few times in their entire life. So this separation may mean they never see their family again. Read that again. She got on a wolf and left, and she is probably never going home. Not for a visit, not once. Not ever. And everybody knows it. Both tribes know it. That's why there are gifts. It isn't a wedding present. It's awake. And the other tribe prepares gifts too. And the chief sent Hunting Team 1 to prepare supplies for the bride's tribe and went to see the shaman. And Hunting Team 1 is my father's team. And Captain Hong Yue has the tribe's third strange bone beast, second in strength only to the chief. And I looked at the bride, and her skin was whiter than ours. And some enthusiastic tribespeople were already chatting with her, and Kuai Li was busy preparing things to send to her people. I'm from the Lotus tribe. My name is Petunia. Our totem is the lotus, and our warriors contract lotuses as battle pets. I'm sorry, plants? They contract plants? And Petunia is the complete opposite of Kuai Li, cheerful, outgoing. Lotus? What does a lotus look like? Because nobody here has ever seen one. And she explained patiently. Boasting does a very beautiful flower. They grow in water, pink or white petals, yellow buds. The seeds and the root are edible. Raw root is sweet, cooked root is soft and glutinous. And there are round leaves floating on the water. Can I see your battle pet? Are you crazy? She's come to our tribe. How could she have a battle pet? Oh, right, I forgot. And here's the rule. To ensure the uniqueness of the totem and the faith, the tribe erases the totem of anyone who leaves, and battle pets cannot be taken. She didn't just leave home, she left her god at the door, and her animal, and whatever she was, and walked into a valley of wolves as nobody at all. And Petunia didn't care, because there was nobody she liked in her tribe, so she always knew she'd leave the Lotus tribe, so she never even bothered awakening or contracting. She planned this. She looked around at everyone she'd grown up with, decided none of them, and then deliberately did not build a life she'd have to burn. 16 or 17 years of not planting roots on purpose because she knew she was leaving. I brought some ordinary lotus seeds. You can scatter them in your river, though I don't know if they'll get eaten by the river beast. She brought seeds. She's not allowed her totem. She's not allowed her pet, so she brought seeds. The ordinary kind, the kind that isn't anybody's god. She smuggled her home in as a vegetable. And I named myself after a root vegetable to keep my dead world, and she brought lotus seeds to keep hers. We're the same, and she has no idea. Won't your lotus get eaten by the river beast? Of course not. Our lotuses are battle pets. They use the flowers and the fragrance to attract prey, and then they attack. The flowers are bait, a whole lake of beautiful things, waving in the wind, being lovely, and every one of them is a mouth. Every summer the lake is covered with them, the petals swaying in the wind, layer on layer, stretching out into a sea of color. It's very beautiful. And everyone was captivated, like they could feel the clear water and smell it. And she's describing a killing field like it's her mother's garden, because it is her mother's garden. And somebody said, let's try it in the shallows. Fierce river beasts don't usually come to shallow water. And somebody else, yes, and if that fails, we'll dig a hole and fill it with water. That way you won't miss home so much. Yes, Petunia, this is your home now. And she'd been here about 9 minutes, and these people are already planning to excavate a pond in a valley of wolves so a stranger can look at flowers from a country she can never go back to. And she was touched, and she smiled and nodded. And then the chief and the shaman came out, and everyone went quiet, because the two of them together means an announcement. And the chief looked at the shaman with his eyes, asking, and the shaman had no intention of speaking, so the chief went first. And notice that. The chief asked, silently, in front of everybody. That's who runs this tribe, and it isn't the man on the wolf. A few things today. First, bonfire party tonight to welcome Petunia. And the square cheered, and she bowed to them. Second, starting tomorrow, in addition to taking turns hunting, the hunting team goes with everyone else to the riverbank to till the land and prepare to plant mustard greens and red finger fruit. And the gathering team collects as many seeds of both as possible. And then he did something I have never heard anybody in this world do. He counted. Our tribe currently has 322 people. Collistract 193 in the hunting team, 52 in the gathering team, 48 cubs. That leaves 29. He can't do arithmetic. Nobody here can. Yu carries sticks in his pocket, and the chief of this tribe has every single one of those numbers in his head, sorted by function, and he did the subtraction out loud in front of everybody. He doesn't have math. He has 322 names. 3 take care of the cubs. The rest cook and prepare dried meat and vegetables. And each time, the hunting team stays behind to help with drying and sorting, and patrol the tribe and the sentry posts. And select 10 people with good stoneworking skills to choose stones and make pickle jars. 10 stonemasons on jars. He heard about a jar 4 minutes ago, and he's already allocated an industry to it. And everyone else who can move goes to till the land. From now on, our Skywolf tribe will not only hunt and gather. We will also grow crops. Yes. And that's it. That's the moment. Right there, in a square, in one sentence, from a man who just got off a wolf. A tribe that has hunted and gathered since before anybody's grandfather was born just became a tribe that farms. Third, our Skywolf tribe has finally produced a shaman's disciple. Jiang Ning. After all this time, I believe everyone is aware of her guidance, and under her leadership, our tribe will surely become stronger. And they started chanting my name. Jiang Ning. Jiang Ning. And I stood there in that square, and it went straight through me. 16 years. 16 years of lying in a hole in a rock, being the thin one whose food was optional. 16 years of being the baby everyone expected to bury. And 322 people are shouting a name I made up out of a vegetable so I'd have something left of a world that's dead. Ask me what an old man does at a bonfire when he's already decided he isn't going to see the spring. And nobody was surprised, because I've been up at the shaman's cave for a while now, and they'd already worked it out. 300 people quietly noticed the girl going up that mountain every morning and drew the obvious conclusion and said nothing so as not to spoil it. And I stood in front of them and looked at every familiar face. I will give it my all. And then the shaman said, next spring, once Li Mei's battle pet has grown, Li Mei goes out with hunting team 1 to gain experience. This is a path you must take. And that's a sentence with a shadow on it. Because he's not describing a trip. He's setting a date. He knows what he's got left, and he just told 300 people where I'll be in spring and who will be with me, my father's team. And he did it in public, so it's binding. He's not planning my training. He's arranging my life to continue without him. And that night, we had a bonfire party to welcome Petunia and to celebrate the disciple. And when the night went deep and quiet, I asked the system something. You don't seem to have any demands on me. You just let me do whatever I want? We focus on cultivating the host's own capabilities. If the system interferes too much, the host becomes dependent. That is not the result we want. What if I'm someone who just drifts along? If you were that kind of person, I wouldn't be here. What if I use you to do bad things? If you were that kind of person, you wouldn't be here. And that's the whole selection criteria, right there, in 2 sentences. They didn't pick me because I was clever. They didn't pick me because I was strong. They ran an assessment on a girl and decided she'd do the work and wouldn't turn it into a weapon. 16 years of me thinking I was a random casualty of a construction cone. And then it said the thing that stuck with me. Every decision you make, every step you take, is your own choice. No one can experience it for you. No one can control your actions. Even facing difficulty, you choose how to deal with it, how to move forward. Whatever the outcome, it is your own choice. I am merely an observer. And the next day, everyone went to work, and the planting team went out with their tools, because they already have experience with sweet potatoes, so they just continued. And I went up to the shaman's cave as usual. And this time, he didn't give me herbs. He had me sit cross-legged in front of him. Li Mei, you are now recognized by your clan as shaman's disciple. Now I will formally teach you to meditate. Yes, shaman. And I was thrilled, because I've learned a lot from him, and the real witchcraft is still a foreign country to me. Meditation is not only a process of increasing strength. It is a method of training the mind and the body. You must learn to calm your mind and eliminate distraction in order to better communicate with heaven and earth. And I listened and took silent notes on every word. First, you must learn to breathe. In through your nose, then slowly out through your mouth. Feel the breath moving through your body. And I started breathing slowly, and I tried to calm down, and I was still a bit nervous. And as my body relaxed, I felt myself go soft and light. Next, focus on the power within you. It lies dormant. Only when you awaken it can you master it. And I closed my eyes and focused, and I felt something warm surging in there, and it was weak, and it made me feel safe and comfortable. 16 years. It's been in there for 16 years, and nobody ever told me to look. Now I'll teach you to guide it. Concentrate your consciousness on it, then guide it with your mind. And I focused, and my body got sharper, clearer, and I guided it with my thoughts and let it flow through all of me. Very good. You have successfully guided the power within you. Next, learn to use it. Use your will to control this power and make it work for you. And I took a deep breath and put everything I had into it. And a powerful energy surged through my whole body. Success! And I cheered, internally, like an idiot, in front of a dying man. Very good, Li Mei. You have done very well. You have mastered the guidance and use of the power within you. This is the first step to becoming a shaman, and the most important one. Next, I will teach you to use it to enhance your perception, your healing, and other shamanic skills. And I was full of gratitude, because if it weren't for him, I'd be nowhere. And he told me to calm down and feel everything around me. And I heard a faint sound, thin as a thread, and I could clearly feel it was there. And I traced it with my mind, and gradually I could perceive further and further. And while my eyes were closed, he put out his right index finger and chanted and pressed it to my brow. And a faint white light came off his fingertip, and something warm poured into me. And that power is the legacy of the shaman, and also a seed, and it will lead me onto the shaman's path. And it was like a gentle stream, warm, delicate, like my soul had been washed and lifted, and under that light, I briefly had the power of a shaman, and I could clearly perceive the fluctuations and the breath of every life around me. And I saw the tribes past, all of it, like I could move through time and speak with everything, and memories kept flooding in. His memories. That's the legacy. Everything he knows, everything the shaman before him knew, and the one before that, all of it, going backward, into a valley full of wolves, in a line that has never once been written down, poured into a girl's head through a fingertip, because there is no other way to carry it. And as it faded, my body changed, and my forehead started to burn, like something was about to come out of me. And I touched it, nervously, and there was a pattern forming, rising up out of my skin. A wolf. And it gave off a faint golden light and blended into me perfectly. And its shape is agile, and its eyes are fierce, like it's announcing its own power. And then it faded, until there was only a trace left, like it might vanish at any moment. Li Mei, this is the legacy of our Sky Wolf tribe, and also bloodline awakening. Awakening. The thing I have watched other people get. The thing my twin brother gets this year, at the sacrifice, in front of everybody, while I stand in the crowd. The thing the old man saw me being sad about and never mentioned. And he just gave it to me in a cave with his finger. Every member of the tribe undergoes bloodline awakening. Those who succeed have a totem planted in their chest. It is the source of their power. Only the shaman is different, and his voice went solemn. The shaman is the source of the tribe's wisdom. Therefore, the shaman's totem is in the center of the forehead. Their power sits over the heart, mine sits behind my eyes, and nobody had to explain that to me. Without the totem's recognition, even if I announce to everyone that you are the shaman's disciple, you will forever remain a figurehead. And that's the part that matters. His word isn't enough. His word runs this whole valley, and it is not enough for this. A wolf on a girl's forehead has to agree. And I touched my brow, a symbol of power, a fusion of his legacy in my own soul. Now that you have the legacy, you are the true shaman's disciple. Go out and see your people. They have already sensed it. Because when my totem was planted, every totem in this tribe felt it. 322 chests went warm at the same instant, and I walked out slowly. And the whole tribe was outside, every single one of them, standing there, silent, not saying a word. Nobody called them, nobody rang anything. They all just knew at once and walked up a mountain and waited. And when they saw the totem on my forehead, they all went down on one knee and clenched their right fists and put them on their chests and shouted in unison, "The Skywolf tribe pays homage to Shaman Jong, Shaman Lee." Because no matter how many disciples a tribe has, only the true shaman is called shaman. Everyone else is called by their given name. They didn't call me disciple, and I felt like a fire had been lit in my chest, so hot my eyes went hot with it. And I put my hand up to the totem without thinking, and the cold of it now had something burning in it, and it went from my fingertips all the way down into my heart. And every bit of unease I had turned into something else, and I took a deep breath and tried to hold my voice steady. I will, like the shamans before me, swear an oath by the Skywolf totem to protect this tribe. Even if I cross thorns and face hordes of beasts, as long as the Skywolf people remain, I will live and die with this tribe. And from that moment, I wasn't just Li Mei anymore. And I know my path has only just started, and I have to keep learning and keep cultivating and keep getting stronger so I can go further. And after everyone drifted off, he came out of the cave. From now on, you don't have to stay up here all the time, except to organize herbs. To become a shaman, you need more than meditation. You need to experience this world. And I went to check on the planting team, and the gathering team has collected some seeds, not too many, and it'd be a waste to clear too much land at once because the grass here grows too fast. And Baya stayed at my side. And after being fed vicious beast meat these last few days, she's growing fast. Her shape is already losing the baby in it. Her muscles are firming up. And skywolves grow quickly to begin with, and with strange bone beast nourishment on top, she'll probably be the size of an adult by next spring. Next spring, when I go out with hunting team 1. The old man didn't pick that date out of the air. He picked it off the wolf. And the summers here aren't too hot, moderate. And in autumn, the breeze makes you feel new. And I got to the tribe's exit, and the guards rushed over. "Shaman Lee, are you going out?" "Shaman Lee," from the men on the gate, immediately, like it's always been my name. Yes, I want to see them tilling the land. "I'll have Ming Yue take you." And he summoned his skywolf, sat on its back, whistled, and was gone. And I stood there and waited, because there are still many dangers out there for me, and I have no way to protect myself. And even inside the tribe, warriors run regular checks. Inside, behind the mountains, with 300 people and a wall of wolves, they still patrol, constantly. And I looked at the other guard, and the totem on his chest was blue, which is the mark of a level 1 warrior. And mine was only golden when it first activated, and now it's faded to almost invisible. And only on the day it turns blue will I be a true shaman. So that's the ladder. A level 1 warrior, the lowest rung, the guy on the gate, is blue. And I'm not there. I'm barely a mark. Everyone knelt to me an hour ago, and I am weaker than the man standing next to me, and everybody in this valley can see it on my face. And 2 wolves came running back, because the tribe's fields aren't far, right on the riverbank. "Shaman Lee, going to check the tilling? I'll come with you." And Ming Yue is Lin's older sister. Good talent, become a warrior long ago. And next year, at the ceremony, the shaman should awaken Petunia too. And that stopped me, because Petunia deliberately never awakened at home. She saved it. She's been carrying that unspent her whole life, waiting to spend it somewhere she chose. And the man who has to do it is dying. And she led me downstream along the Skywolf River, and after a few steps I could see people working next to the sweet potato field. And there was ginger next to it that hadn't been harvested, kept for seed. Kept for seed. Nobody in this world knew what that meant 16 years ago. And because the tribe planted those potatoes, the warriors' outposts have expanded out to here. Read that. The farm moved the border. 16 years ago, the safe world ended at the mountains. And then a girl put a vegetable in the ground, and the men with the wolves came out and stood around it. Every meter of ground this tribe controls, it controls because there's food in it. And you can see the cleared plots from a distance, and they've just turned it over for the harvest. And they were working the soil, and the fresh earth was coming up, and it smelled clean. And then the mustard greens go in. And you could hear beasts roaring in the forest, every so often, which just makes people more vigilant about protecting this precious land. That's the sound of farming here. Somewhere in the trees, something enormous is announcing itself, and 300 people put their heads down and keep hoeing, because the alternative is February. And some people were carrying wooden buckets and applying fertilizer, which is made from the tribe's excrement, kitchen waste, and the wood ash from the cooking fires. And here's what that took. Because in the past, people here had no customs about it. They just went wherever they were standing. So there was excrement all over the tribe, which greatly annoyed me. And I tried my best to persuade everyone to go in one fixed place, and gradually they developed the habit. And I still couldn't make them understand why fertilizing works. Ask me what it costs to explain dirt to people who have never been wrong about anything else. So I gave up explaining, and I fertilized one patch, mine, the one I dug. And sure enough, the harvest was much bigger than the ones next to it. And now they fertilize. That's the lesson, and I keep having to relearn it. I cannot explain nitrogen. I don't have the words, and they don't have the concept, and I'd be talking for a month. So I ran a control group, 2 patches, same everything, one with, one without, and the ground argued for me. And the ground won in one season. What are some ways to increase fertility? Under current conditions, only farmyard manure, and if you want crops to grow better with it, it's not very useful. In this world, the most important resource is the vicious beast. If your tribe can obtain them continuously, it will not only make crops grow strong, it can even transform them into exotic plants. Exotic plant? What's that? Remarks what I said? The outside isn't just full of vicious beasts. There are plants that run and jump. When beast has enough power, it breaks through into a strange bone beast. Similarly, when a plant absorbs enough resources, it becomes an exotic plant, like a vicious beast. The lotus tribe, where petunia comes from, their totem is an exotic plant. And there it is, the lotuses that lure prey with their fragrance and then attack. They didn't find them. Somebody grew them. That's a whole tribe that figured out how to feed a flower until it became a monster. If you obtain enough vicious beasts to cultivate crops, your tribe may produce strange bone-level sweet potatoes. Strange bone, sweet potatoes. The rank that makes a wolf into a thing that can kill an entire hunting party on a vegetable. And I didn't get excited. I got worried. But what if we overfish the vicious beasts? Won't that cause bad consequences? And it laughed at me, politely. This world is vast. To this world, humanity is a drop in the ocean. The number of vicious beasts is several times that of humans. They reproduce and expand their territory. They are the dominators of this world. Even in your world, species that give birth to only one child at a time are rare. Here, even more so. Even if higher-ranking beasts reproduce less, their overall population is still enormous. And then it told me the thing that reorganized my entire understanding of this planet. Their numbers are enormous, and the land's capacity to sustain them is limited. Like the tides, when their numbers reach a certain level, they unleash a beast tide. Compared to their sheer size, the damage you can do is negligible. A beast tide. It's not an invasion. It's not malice. It's not a villain. It's overpopulation. It's the world running out of room and squeezing. Every horror story on this continent is just arithmetic. A beast tide of that scale, which human tribe could survive? This is the role of your shamans. Deactivate shaman can heal injuries, grant bloodline awakening, divine fortune, and create shaman bone imprints and defensive shields to protect the tribe. The purpose of the beast tide is to deplete their numbers. When the high-ranking beasts find that attacking this place is useless, they will naturally drive them elsewhere. Read that. The high-ranking beasts are aiming the tide. It's not weather, it's a cull. Somebody up there is thinning the herd and pointing it at whatever won't hold. And a shaman's whole job is to make the tribe not worth the trouble, so the tide gets steered onto somebody else. Every settlement that survives because a shaman made it expensive, and the tide went to a valley that didn't have one. And your totem is not so much the sky wolf. The real totem is the witch. Your power all comes from a seed planted by the witch. The wolf totem is just an external manifestation. So the wolf isn't the god. The wolf is the wrapper. Why is the shaman so powerful? And it told me how this world was made. It was influenced by the power of the source, which acted like a seed, stimulating the growth and evolution of surrounding life. From then on, life in this world had the potential to evolve into the vicious beast. From the very first seed of life, creatures gradually evolved, gaining more power, more adaptability. The transformation of humans into warriors is, in theory, a form of evolution. Heaven is fair. It gave the vicious beast a powerful body and the ability to reproduce. And it gave humanity unparalleled wisdom. The first people affected by the source were what you now call witches. They mastered a portion of the power of the source, enabling humanity to evolve. That is what you call bloodline awakening. It gave you the ability to protect yourselves. Through generations of reproduction, respect for witchcraft seems etched into your very heritage. And that's why nobody argues with the old man. It's not culture. It's not tradition. It's not even faith. It's the oldest true thing these people have. Somewhere back at the start, when everything on this planet was becoming teeth, a few humans got handed a fragment of the thing that made the world, and that's the only reason there are any humans left to have a tribe at all. They don't kneel to the shaman. They kneel to the one advantage their species ever got. And then I asked the question that had been building. Even so, are all the tribes only allowed to defend? Are there no tribes that can retaliate? Unable to fight back. And I had nothing to say. Not, it's difficult. Not, very few. Unable. Not one tribe on this entire planet has ever pushed back. Not once. In all of history. Humanity has been in the defensive crouch since the first seed and has never once stood up. Humans have a hard time surviving here, but they also have their wisdom. Just like you, Skywolf tribe. You were not strong enough, so you chose this place with fewer vicious beasts as your habitat. However, every cloud has a silver lining. The scarcity of vicious beasts also means a scarcity of resources. If warriors want to become stronger, they need a constant stream of crisis training and the nourishment of vicious beast energy. Your settlement here has ensured your safety. And it also means you are destined to gradually decline. The founder didn't make a mistake. He made a trade. He took his people somewhere they'd live, and he paid for it with everything they could have become. And every generation since has been spending the change. And then it told me the thing I'll never get out of my head. There are many tribes in this world, just like you, with warriors and shamans, who together protect their people. And one day, just an ordinary day, without any warning, the sun was shining brightly, the birds were singing in the trees. A powerful, vicious beast passed by, and the tribe vanished. And I went completely silent. No war, no siege, no last stand. Nobody got to be brave. Something walked past, and 300 people, and their shaman, and their totem, and their whole language, and their names, and their food, and their park for the children stopped existing on a nice day, and it didn't even notice. And I know how cruel this world is. I've always known, and I know humanity's situation here is not easy, and I'm a shaman. And I want to fight for more living space and more resources for the human tribes, and better conditions for my people. And a plan started forming in me, right there. And she just decided to be the first human being in the history of this planet to fight back, standing in a turnip field. And when I got to the sweet potato field, the guards had already swept the area once, because even ordinary people need considerable strength to survive in a world like this. And a few people were out on the riverbank, gesturing at things. They're preparing to divert water from the river, to dig a large pit, to try planting lotus. They're doing it. They said they'd dig her a pond so she wouldn't miss home, and I thought it was a kindness people say at a party, and they're out there with hoes. And after the sweet potato business, my people are now very enthusiastic about planting. Anything. They'll plant anything. You could point at a rock. Did Petunia and Kwai Li go to the Lotus tribe? Yes, to deliver the gifts, and also to let her people see the great river, so they can rest assured. Oh, that's what the trip is. They're not delivering presents, they're bringing proof. Her family will never see where she lives, not once, not ever. So Kwai Li rode across a continent full of monsters to stand in front of her parents and describe the river, so her mother can picture it. And the gifts are just dried meat and hides, nothing special. Would the Lotus tribe mind if we grew lotus? And Manhwa hesitated. I don't think so. Petunia said they were just ordinary seeds. We should still ask, in case it makes the Lotus tribe hostile. And Manhwa agreed. Yes, we'll ask when they get back. And that's the first foreign policy decision I ever made. A flower in a hole. And I stopped it, because a totem is a tribe's whole identity. And I'm not risking 300 lives on a plant that might be somebody's god. And I stood and watched them work the soil. And they were full of energy. Hoes and shovels, turning it over, pulling weeds, building ridges. And their movements are simple and skilled. They've got experience now. 16 years ago, nobody here had ever put a thing in the ground. And then my people screamed, and it cut through the air like a blade. And I looked up, and there was something coming. A ferocious bird, wingspan of almost 5 meters, deep black feathers, and eyes like 2 black gems with something cunning in them. And its cry went through the air, and it was chilling. And it spread those wings and came down at my people on the ground. And my heart went, and I felt real fear come up from the bottom of me, because I've been here 16 years, and this is the first time I have ever faced one of these directly. 16 years of hearing about the world outside. 16 years of the hunting team lost a man. 16 years of it happening to other people, somewhere else, while I stood in a square. And it's 40 meters away, and it wants to eat my father's co-workers. And Manhwa went straight at it. And she aimed for the wing and threw with everything she had. And it dodged, nimbly, and kept going down at them. And I was filled with despair, because I could only watch. A shaman, with a wolf on her forehead, who 300 people knelt to yesterday, standing in a field, watching. And the bird had just been hunting in the sky, and saw people working in the fields below, and decided they were lunch. And the guards rallied, and it was enormous and powerful, and it could not break through, because of the close cooperation and the tenacious resistance of the warriors. And they came back at it with spears and bows and stones, and they covered each other, and supported each other, and they killed it. And some cheered, because that's another catch, and some had scratches. And that's the primitive world, hunter and hunted, every single day. And if that bird had won today, my people would have been its meal. Not a tragedy, not an atrocity, a meal. Same as the boar in the pot, same as the deer Black Wolf brought. It came down to see who was food, and it guessed wrong. In this world, only the strong survive. And that night, I sat cross-legged on my stone bed and concentrated on my shamanic power, and I put everything else aside, and my breathing went even and deep, like I'd merged with the breath of the world, and my body relaxed, and my consciousness went inward, feeling that power moving under every inch of my skin, and my heart went still, like a lake. And for a moment, I was one thing with everything, resonating with all of it. And then it was like a door opened, and I saw the lights, white specks everywhere around me, streaming in. And that's the shamanic power of the universe, all of it converging on me. and they were leaping and swirling in the air, full of energy, like the source of life itself. And something ancient came off them, and I felt close to it. And then the beast tooth woke up. That precious gift from the ancestral witch, the one that's been a bit of junk on a string this whole time. And it became a vortex, pulling energy in from everywhere around me, like an invisible magnetic field dragging the lights toward it. And they were coming out of the air, and out of the earth, and out of the light itself. And it continuously absorbs energy to help the wearer cultivate. That's what it said, casually, like a footnote. And I put it on and forgot about it, and it has been sitting on my chest doing nothing because I had no power to switch it on. And the second I did, it started eating the world for me. And I started to resonate with them. My heartbeat and my breathing went into their rhythm. And I became a magnetic field, pulling them in. And my consciousness expanded past the edges of my body. And I saw them come together around me into one power, full of life and vitality. And I felt full, completely, absurdly full. And I started talking to it, exploring its edges, finding out what it could do. And then it started changing my body, going through my limbs and my bones. And my muscles got stronger, and my bones got harder, and my blood vessels went clear, and I swear I could hear my own cells cheering. And my skin changed, went smooth and bright, and my senses sharpened, all of them, sight, hearing, smell, touch. And I could see further, and hear things that were barely there, and smell things I'd never smelled, and feel the smallest change around me, and my body went light and strong, like I'd trained for years, 16 years. 16 years of being the thin one, the weak one, the one who was born too small and wasn't expected to live, the one whose food was optional, the one who couldn't lift a rake, who failed at a basket for a week, whose palms got rubbed raw on a dog bowl, the one who stood in a field today and could only watch. And it went on a long time, until I felt a balance, and I knew what it was. A conversation between me and the shamanic power of the universe, and an awakening of my own inner world. And from that moment, I am not an ordinary person. And in a cave far off, the old man woke up out of his own meditation, and opened his eyes slowly, and those deep eyes seemed to go straight through the stone and find exactly where I was. And there was a light in them, like he could see through everything in the world. And he said, satisfied, "It's really good. You succeeded so quickly." He was awake, at night, meditating, in his own cave, alone, watching. He's dying, and he stayed up to make sure it took. Ask me what a dying man is racing when he teaches a girl this fast. And when I woke up, I was stronger. My muscles were firmer. My whole body was full of something. And my senses. I could see every detail in that cave. And the cave has no light in it. That's the whole problem with a hole in a rock. It's black, day or night. And the darkness wasn't an obstacle anymore. And I could hear things far away, insects, barely there, and smell the earth in the air. And my reaction speed and my flexibility went up. And I got off the stone bed and felt light. And I wanted to jump. And I didn't, because Mother was asleep outside and I didn't want to disturb her. Girl gets superpowers at midnight and immediately does not use them out of consideration for her mum. Because Father went to the Lotus tribe, and my brother Lei is still out there on his first hunt. And I was full of awe, because I knew what it was. And Bai Ya sat in her nest and watched me, not moving. And her eyes were full of surprise and curiosity, like she could see the change. And I looked at her, and she's grown a lot in a few days. And she's nearly finished the vicious beast meat. And Father made me 2 daggers out of the antlers, and the rest of the bones, Mother didn't want any of it either. They left it all for Bai Ya to grind her teeth on. And that's all that's left of Black Wolf's gift, except the strange bone. And a strange bone is called a bone, and it isn't one. It's a white, round bead, formed from the bone closest to the heart hardening and mutating. And I sat there and thought about giving it to her. And I knew the energy in it is too powerful for her, and she might not withstand it. Because even with the flesh and blood of a strange bone beast every day, even being the most talented of a true bone skywolf's offspring, she's still too young. And I have to give her enough time to grow. And if she can't withstand it, the consequences are unpredictable. It is recommended that the host not administer the strange bone to Baya at this time. I know that too, and I sighed. And there it is again. The rule that will not leave me alone. The best thing I own would kill the thing I love, and I'm holding it right now, and all I can do is wait. And I patted her head and lay back down. And the next day the shaman looked at me and nodded with satisfaction and helplessness. My senses were right. You have indeed successfully taken the first step. However, as I already said, you don't need to come to me every day now. You have the legacy. If you want to become a true shaman, you must work hard all the time. And I cannot help you with that. And a shaman's life is tedious and monotonous. Apart from handling the tribe's affairs, it's constant meditation, forever. That's the job. That's what he's been doing in that cave for decades, alone. And I was a bit embarrassed, and I asked anyway. I feel like my abilities have all improved. Even my body got better. Shaman, isn't that a warrior's ability? And he smiled. During a shaman's cultivation, shamanic power continuously strengthens the body. After all, a healthy body is essential to casting powerful spells. A powerful shaman is also a powerful warrior. Oh, all of it, the whole time. 16 years of watching warriors and thinking that was the only door, and the shaman's path goes through the same room. It just doesn't advertise. Every shaman who ever lived was quietly getting stronger in a cave while everybody looked at the men with the wolves. That's why I'm sending you out with the hunting team. Besides broadening your horizons, it's to strengthen your body. And I had no idea that was why. I was just secretly pleased I'd get to go outside and find new food. Man is building a weapon, and she thinks she's getting a field trip. However, as shamans, we place more emphasis on spiritual cultivation and the accumulation of wisdom. Physical ability is part of it, but our focus is mastering the power within. You need to work hard and strive to become a level 1 warrior before the spring. That way, your life will be more secure. Your life will be more secure. That's not a training goal. That's a man doing arithmetic on the odds his student comes home. He's sending me out in spring whether I'm ready or not, because he won't be here to send me later. Yes. And I found Mother airing out food. And the square is full. Dried meat, hides, wild vegetables, sweet potatoes, all in the sun. And predators from the sky occasionally try to ambush it, so you need strong warriors guarding the square. Guarding the drying racks from the air, because there is nowhere on this planet that is not a hunting ground, including the middle of your own home. Mother, I break through and become a level 1 warrior. And she looked at me, and it hurt her. Because her child is so young and has to carry the responsibility of protecting the tribe, and she only has a vague understanding of it herself. May. I'm not entirely sure either. We usually only break through during hunts. And that's the answer. Nobody knows. There's no method. There's no curriculum. You go out where things kill you, and if you survive enough of it, something happens. And I was disappointed. Mother, is it very difficult for a warrior to break through? And she looked at me gently. Pema May, don't worry. After bloodline awakening, everyone naturally breaks through to level 1. It's just a matter of time. The difficult thing is to keep breaking through. Over the years, our tribe has only had 2 level 2 warriors. The chief and Hongye. 2 in the entire history anyone can remember, out of 322 people. And the ceiling isn't talent, it's that you can't get past level 1 on ordinary meat in a safe valley, no matter how hard you try. The founder's trait again. Everything comes back to it. Mother, I'm a little scared. And I said it quietly. Because it's been too much, one thing after another, and nothing gave me time to get ready. 4 days ago, I was a girl with a centipede bite whose food was optional. And Shan Hu looked at me, and it went through her. Because she knows I'm not the little girl she has to protect anymore. And she wanted to comfort me anyway. And she patted my shoulder, gently. Li Mei, don't be afraid. You've done so well all these years. You have unlimited potential. As long as you keep your courage and your determination, you will break through. I'm more afraid that I won't do a good job as a shaman, and I'll disappoint my people. And that's the real one. Not the beasts, not the breakthrough, not dying. 322 people knelt in the dirt and shouted a name I invented, and I'm terrified I'm going to let them down. And she looked at me, and her eyes were full of determination and trust. And she said it slowly. Li Mei, you were chosen by the shaman, which means you have extraordinary potential and talent. He made that choice after careful consideration and observation. He believes you can become an excellent shaman, so you must believe in your abilities and trust the shaman's judgment. And that's how she did it. She didn't tell me I'm good enough. She knew I wouldn't take it from her. I'm her daughter. She has to say that. So she pointed at the one person in this valley whose judgment I cannot argue with. You don't have to believe in yourself. Believe in him. And it went through me warm, because I know she means it, and she means his choice too. And I put my doubts down. Mother, I will. And then I remembered. Mother, yesterday I saw a ferocious bird at the river. It wasn't a strange bone beast. So why did it take several warriors to bring it down? And here's the answer, and it explains everything. Our bodies are inherently weaker than the beasts. Only after becoming a level 1 warrior do we have the strength to fight them at all. A human being is not a match for the animals here, full stop. That's the baseline. Awakening doesn't make you strong, it makes you equal. The shaman once said that in the great tribes, warriors eat vicious beast meat daily to replenish energy and temper their bodies. Which is why their level 1 warriors can kill strange bone beasts of the same rank. In our tribe, even the chief, a level 2 warrior, doesn't dare say he can reliably defeat a strange bone beast. A level 1 out there beats a strange bone, and our level 2, the strongest man we have, the one who rides in on the wolf, the one everyone cheers for, cannot promise the same thing. Their beginners are stronger than our best, and the only difference is dinner. So that's how it is. It seems the relocation of the tribe is inevitable, and there it is. She's not going to make the tribe stronger. She's going to move it. Out of the safe valley, into the monster pit, on purpose. The thing the founder ran away from 300 years ago to save everybody. She's going to walk them back. And 10 days later, Petunia and the others came back from the lotus tribe with lotus seeds and lotus roots. And the crew that went would not shut up about it. The lotus tribe is so beautiful. Their lotus flowers are as big as stone pots, and the leaves float on the water. People can walk on them. The lotus root is delicious too. And in the morning, the flowers drip water on their own. It tastes so refreshing. And these are men who fight monsters for a living, standing in a square, absolutely losing it over a pond. And the tribe had already dug the pit, the size of a basketball court, 100 meters from the river, just waiting for chers from the river, just waiting for them to come back. And even if the lotus tribe had said no, I planned to raise fish in it. And Petunia walked over with the seeds and grabbed a handful and casually scattered them in the water, and then took out the lotus root and again casually threw it in. And everyone stared, because our method for sweet potatoes has many steps. And she looked at the field next door and smiled. The lotuses are very resilient. They'll grow on their own as long as there's water. Don't worry. 300 people watched a woman throw a plant in a hole and walk away and had a collective crisis about it. And their doubt turned into anticipation. And I smiled at her. They say you're the first person from the lotus tribe to ever come to our tribe. And you brought us lotuses. So how about we call this place Lotus Pond from now on? First, thank you, Shaman Lee. And she was excited. They took her totem. They took her battle pet. They took the whole world she came from at the door. And she is never going home. Not once. Not ever. So I put her name on 100 square meters of this valley, permanently, in front of everybody. And then her voice went low. Our Lotus tribe and the small tribes around us used to intermarry with the Mammoth tribe. They were much stronger than us. And last year, the Mammoth tribe angered a true bone beast. And the Mammoth tribe was completely wiped out. Fortunately, that beast only targeted them. Otherwise, our tribes would probably have perished as well. And who could say a thing like that would never happen to them? And I went quiet. Because the Lotus tribe is several days from us, and the Mammoth tribe was even further. And when the news first came, everyone was shocked, because the Mammoth tribe was nearly 600 people, and their chief was a level 3 warrior, and they vanished without a trace. 600 people, twice our size, and a level 3, a rank we have never produced and cannot imagine, one better than the 2 best men we've ever had. And it wasn't a war. Nobody fought. They angered something, and then they were a story people tell in other valleys. And that's exactly what the system described. An ordinary day, the sun out, and a tribe stops existing. It's not a fable. It happened last year, to the neighbors. And Petunia rallied fast, because what's done is done, and you still have to go on living. And the Sky Wolf tribe is second only to the Mammoth tribe in strength among the small tribes around here. So marrying in here gave her some assurance of safety, second only to the tribe that no longer exists. She looked at the map, picked the strongest place she could reach, and moved here. And the strongest place she could reach is US. And then we planted. With seeds from naturally matured mustard greens the gathering team found in the mountains. And they also dug up many whole plants, roots still wrapped in soil, everything from seedlings to mature ones. And that was my instruction. Because it's uncertain whether the seeds take on the first try. So transplanting greens at different stages means we get fresh vegetables sooner. That's a hedge. I've never grown this. I don't know if it works. So I ran every stage at once, so that whatever fails, something eats. And the garden got divided into neat rows, and a shallow pit every 10 centimeters. And the person at the front sowed, taking a few seeds from a bag and scattering them into each hole. And his gaze was focused, unwavering, like he wasn't sowing seeds, like he was sowing the anticipation of a harvest. And the second person followed with a tool and covered them with soil, gently, carefully, like he was handling a treasure, and patted it down to cover them evenly, giving them a warm cradle. And the last one watered, carrying a bucket, sprinkling evenly into every hole, checking each one got the right amount, and then tamping the soil with his feet so the seeds root better. And the 3 of them moved fast, like workers on an assembly line, each doing his job, cooperating closely. An assembly line? Nobody taught them that. I taught them sweet potatoes. I never said one word about division of labor. They found specialization by themselves because they've done it enough now, and 3 people who each do one thing are faster than 3 people who each do 3. That's the whole Industrial Revolution, invented in a turnip patch by men who count with sticks. And the transplanting was going full speed nearby because they learned it on sweet potato seedlings and already knew how to help a plant take root in new soil. And they dug each one out carefully and put it in gently. And every plant got proper care and attention, and that experience has become a valuable asset. And Petunia watched from the side and could not believe how meticulous they were. No wonder they didn't understand when I just threw the seeds. And she'd only been here a few days, and she'd already found many things different from her tribe. The novel planting methods, the tools she'd never seen, the different food. And she was very satisfied, because this is her tribe now. And of course, the stronger the better. And after the greens went in, there were still empty plots, so people started planning to dig up chili plants. Grow some red finger fruit so we can eat it regularly. Yes, dried red finger fruit is only a condiment. You can't eat it as a main dish. And now they call these things exactly what I call them. 4 days ago, that was a poison that hurt your mouth, and now it's a condiment, and there's a supply problem, and a man is complaining about the format. Then I'll go dig now. I know where they are. And an eager warrior immediately prepared to leave. And the man next to him stopped him. What's your rush? Send your people back to the tribe first. Oh, I was just in a hurry. Man got so excited about vegetables he nearly abandoned a field full of civilians in monster country, and several warriors escorted us back, and then immediately got on their wolves and went to dig for chilies. And by evening you could see them coming back carrying several trees, because the chili trees here are 2 meters. They're practically trees. And I looked at them, and they were different varieties. The ones I found with the gathering team were like the chilies from my old life, and the ones the warriors dug up included something like a green pepper, as long as an arm, and as thick as a wrist. And they were still covered in fruit, with a few white flowers scattered in the leaves. And they put the trees down and went to get tools to plant them immediately. And I stopped them. It's a waste to put a tree that big in the vegetable garden. Plant them around the tribal square, where it's easier to keep an eye on them. And in the other areas, see if there are any other wild vegetables you can dig up and plant. And they thought about it and agreed, because there's still a lot of unleveled ground where the square meets the mountains, perfect for chili trees. And the other people nearby heard me and had an epiphany, and started thinking about which of the wild vegetables they see every day might be worth digging up and planting. It's not worth the trouble digging up tiny things that won't yield many bites. If we're going to dig, we dig up big ones. And that's it. That's the moment the whole thing stopped being mine. I didn't tell them to do that. I told them where to put a tree. And 300 people investigated crop selection in their own heads at the end of a workday because they'd finally understood the shape of the idea. And that night I meditated, as usual. And then I felt a chill and wrapped the hide around me and slept deep. And when I walked out the next morning, it had rained all night, and the air was fresh, and the wet ground smelled like earth. And I looked up, and the clouds were thick, and the rain looked like it intended to stay a long time. And I reached out and caught a drop, and the cold of it went through my fingertips, clear, distinct. And the seasons change fast here. After a few autumn rains, winter officially arrives. Ask me what a girl thinks about when the first cold rain lands on her hand and there's a dying man on the mountain. And it came down hard, and the drops hit the ground like an announcement, and I pulled my collar tight, and something strange came up in me. And Baya sat with me and watched the rain, and she's over 1 meter long now, and her fur's thickened up because the season's turning, and those dark, wet eyes were full of curiosity, because, come to think of it, this is the first time Baya has ever seen rain. She was born in a wall. She's seen wind. She's seen flowers. She's seen a square and a river and her father. And water falling out of the sky is brand new. And a gust blew a few drops onto her fur, and they slid down and left a line of glittering water on her. And she stepped out of the cave and got instantly soaked, and felt how cold it was, and retreated fast, and shook, and her fur went up like a sea urchin, and then turned and looked at me with total innocence. And I wiped the water off my face and gritted my teeth. It's my fault. It's my own fault. Because she was only curious about the rain. And I laughed anyway, because this ridiculous little thing keeps making me happy. And the tribe made its final push on the harvest. Everything went in: sweet potatoes, ginger, dried meat, dried vegetables, carefully stored in the underground caves, and only the mustard greens and the chilies were left outside, still growing, and we collected a lot of yam beans this year, so that's one more thing we plant next year. And I found a stove in the storage area, and this one's mine, made from an ironwood trunk, shaped like a barrel, with a hole in the top so a stone pot sits right in it. Stable, and it takes the maximum heat off the fire. And the bottom is a mesh of holes to clear the ash out, and there's an opening cut in the belly to feed wood in. And here's why it exists: because this tribe sits in a mountain range that gets blocked by snow, and the winters are extremely cold, and it's almost impossible to leave. And even warriors won't risk going out to forage in it, because wild beasts get exceptionally ferocious in winter and attack any creature that comes into their sight. Not hunt, not stalk, attack anything they see, because they're starving too. The whole world is starving at the same time, and the monsters don't have a cave full of sweet potatoes. So the tribe stores enough food and fuel to survive, and that's it. That's the whole strategy. And I tried making a kang before, and I didn't know how to run it, so I couldn't control the temperature. And it was either too hot to lie on or too cold to be any use. So the stove is my substitute. Fire underneath for warmth, soup on the top. And before that, the tribe just used a pile of stones. And when winter comes, the communal meals stop, and everyone cooks for themselves, which is also for warmth, because everyone's allowed to stay in their caves and hibernate. And there are fire buckets too, smaller, hollowed ironwood with one opening. Put embers in. Seal it. And it's nice to hold while you sleep, or to warm your hands during the day. That's a hot water bottle. A tribe that breaks trees with its shoulders, curled up in the dark for months, holding a warm log. System, do you know how to make a heated kang? Because there's still a few days. Why not try again? That's a bit complicated to explain. I'll show you a video tutorial instead. How do I see it? And a video appeared in front of my face, and I immediately looked at Bai Ya, and she didn't react at all. FEM is projection technology. Only you can see it. Projection? I've seen projections, the kind everyone can see. How did you make one only I can see? Expand. 3 dots. Again. License the technology isn't actually difficult. Only you can hear me when I speak anyway. Barbara Video website protects intellectual property rights. We only bought your membership. The website can detect how many people are watching its videos. It's not magic, it's DRM. The single viewer restriction on the most advanced technology I have ever witnessed exists because an aid agency from another dimension bought 1 subscription, and the streaming site counts heads. I don't know why, but I feel like I'm very familiar with this operation. It was indeed a patent I bought from you. From us. Somewhere up the ladder, a civilization that can cross worlds and rewrite souls is enforcing account sharing, and they licensed it. From Earth, from my people, from the same species that invented the sewer I died in. That's humanity's contribution to the interstellar order. Not medicine, not philosophy. We taught the universe how to stop you watching on 2 screens. And I watched the Kang video. First, you determine the location and the shape. Rectangular, usually, because it's easier to build and maintain. Then materials. Bricks, stone slabs, soil, turf. Dig a rectangular pit for the foundation. Lay bricks and slabs at the bottom for the base. Then mix soil and turf and fill it so it's sturdy and lasts. And boards and soil on top for the surface. And then chimneys and vents on both sides, so smoke doesn't accumulate, so air circulates. And waterproofing on the surface against moisture. And it looks simple. And then I watched the smoke trails in the video winding through it. And I got a headache. And I understood why I failed. Because the thing I built was basically sleeping directly on a fire. Not much different from grilling meat on a hot plate. The whole invention isn't the heat, it's the path. It's making the smoke go the long way round, under the whole bed, giving up its warmth as it goes. I built a fire with a lid on it. And congratulated myself. And I looked at my cave, and shelved it. And decided I'd design one properly when I build a house later. A house. 16 years in a hole in a rock, and she just said when I build a house like it's a scheduling matter. And fortunately, my body's much stronger now, and I'm not as sensitive to cold. And even at the coldest, I won't have to curl up in a ball anymore. 16 winters of curling up in a ball. And in winter, I can sleep with Bai Ya, snuggled up. Because that's what everyone here does. They huddle with their wolves, 3 or 4 meters long, thick fur, like a portable blanket. Soft and warm, and it insulates against the cold air. Better than any stove. 300 people sleeping through the dark months inside their own monsters. And I checked the stove and the fire bucket, and they were fine. And all 3 hunting teams are out now, with 1 left behind in the tribe. and everyone else is butchering, processing fur, drying vegetables. And when the rain eased, I went into my kitchen and checked it over. And the ceiling was leaking, and drops were coming down and hitting the counter. And I looked up, and the leaks were covered in black spots. Probably insects, because the roof is just leaves. So I decided to repair it before it got worse, and the roof of that shed collapsed under heavy snow before. So I added wooden beams, a framework, and now I just need to replace the leaves. And those are easy to find. They grow everywhere on this mountain. And after it stopped, I packed my tools and my basket and took Bai Ya up. And we ran into Chung Feng, the leader of the tribe's children, because everyone's working, so the children get gathered up and looked after by a designated person, a nursery. In the primitive era. And you don't need to take care of them much, because the children here are all tough. You put an older kid in charge, give them light tasks, and make sure they don't go anywhere dangerous. And except for the very young, who stay with family, they're split into 3 groups by age, 3 people each. And almost everyone in this tribe has a job, so bringing the children together makes the whole tribe run more efficiently. They invented childcare as a labor policy, not because kids need minding, because 300 adults can't work if 48 children are loose. And Chang Feng is a very cheerful level 1 warrior, and he mentors the teenagers who are near adulthood, and he leads them in training and in battles, helping them grow into powerful warriors. And that is every kid's favorite thing at that age. And he tells them funny stories, so they grow up relaxed and enjoying it. So the children all love being with him, and they respect him as a leader and a warrior. A man who fights monsters, tells jokes to 8-year-olds, and is universally adored. That's the best job in this valley, and everybody knows it. Shaman Li, where are you going? Uncle Chang Feng, I'm going to cut elephant ear leaves. My roof's leaking. And he thought about it, and asked the children for their opinion. How about we go pick some too? There must be other people in the tribe with leaky roofs. He asked them. He didn't decide. He put it to the group. And the proposal was, let's go do unpaid maintenance for strangers. And he'd originally brought them up to learn about the plants near the village, so they wouldn't pick things indiscriminately later. And they were only recently allowed up the mountain at all. When they were younger, they could only move around the square, the park, the 2 football fields the tribe flattened by hand. That's the entire world these kids have had until now. Of course, Uncle Chang Feng, let's go back and get the tools. And Hao shouted it, and his voice was full of it. And he tore off toward his family's cave, weaving through the woods like a deer, and the others got excited and ran after him. Light steps, loud laughter, like it was a game. And Chang Feng said goodbye, reluctantly, and hurried after them, because he has to keep up, to keep them safe. Because even with warriors guarding the tribe, there's always poisonous insects and snakes. And predators can come out of the sky at any moment. Children laughing and running through the trees over a roofing errand, and one man jogging behind them, watching the sky. And I kept going up, and the path was mud after the rain, and every step was work. And I remembered there's a big patch of elephant ear right above my own cave, and sure enough, a cluster of huge leaves. And I stepped on each stone carefully, avoiding the slick mud. And as I got close, I took 2 big pieces of hide out of my basket and started tying them onto my hands as gloves. Because the sap of the elephant ear leaf on skin feels like a burn, itchy, painful, and it ulcerates. And it's very sticky, so your hands stick together, and you can only separate them by force. And I bandaged one hand, and the other was harder, so I had to use my teeth. And after a struggle, I got both, and checked them again, and then shooed Bai Ya away, to keep her back from it. And I picked up the stone axe, and started chopping, carefully. And the elephant ear leaf is shaped exactly like an elephant's ear, and it's very large. And I unfolded one, and the whole leaf was big enough to wrap around me. And they grow up from the base, one after another, each on a long stem. And standing among them, looking up, it's like being in a forest of trees. And they're thick and rough textured, which makes them resistant to damage, which is exactly why they're the roof. And when I'd cut most of them, I chopped the long stems off, leaving only the broad leaves. and tore off a sturdy vine and tied them together so I could carry them home easily. Huh? And the system sounded puzzled. Feminwet? Don't you want these stems? What's the use of that? It won't even last long as firewood. Have you ever eaten taro? This is its relative. By the local name, it should be called elephant ear taro. Is this taro? They look very similar, but this one should be poisonous, right? The sap's sticky, and it hurts. This is a variety of taro. Its characteristics are an adaptation to this world. And then it told me how. Harvesting it is not difficult. Just burn its leaves and use the smoke to fumigate it, and its sap will no longer pose a threat to you. The antidote is the plant. You don't need a chemical. You don't need a tool. You set fire to part of it and hold the rest in the smoke, and it just gives up. And not only are the stems edible, the roots produce taro. Moreover, this plant thrives in water. Look at its size. It grew this big on a mountain. If you plant it near water, the yield will be far more profitable than digging yams. And I got more excited with every word. Is it true that the antidote is always near the poison? And I couldn't wait, because there are many elephant ear taro plants near the Skywolf River. And if we could dig them all up, nobody in this tribe would go hungry this winter. It's been growing on the riverbank the whole time, 600 meters from 300 people who ration sweet potatoes, for 16 years. For 60 years. Forever. And every single person walked past it because it burns you when you touch it, and that was that. And I took the leaves back to the cave and went to the square for fire and made a simple torch. And when I got back to the elephant ear territory, Chang Feng and the children had already started, and I picked up the withered leaves off the ground and piled them up and lit them. And it had just rained, so the dead leaves were hard to catch, and the wet ones put out thick smoke. And Chang Feng watched me, curious. Shaman Li, what are you doing? I want to try something, to see if elephant ear leaves have any use. And I said it mysteriously. Because otherwise I'd have to explain how I know elephant ear taro is afraid of smoke. And that's the job now. Every single gift I hand these people comes wrapped in a small lie about where I got it. A hilltop last year, a thing I noticed. A hunch, because the truth is a voice in my head that bought a video subscription. And there's a man standing there with a group of children watching their shaman set fire to a pile of wet leaves for no reason she'll explain. And he doesn't ask again. He just waits. And here's where I leave you, because look at what's standing on that mountain. 16 years ago, a medical student who skipped her own internship stepped into an open sewer and got filed into a pregnancy by a backlogged government program. And she came out too small, and everyone braced to bury her, and they fed her anyway for 16 years while telling her kindly that her food was optional. And in about a week, she's become the shaman of the Skywolf tribe. She has a wolf on her forehead that 322 people knelt to. She has a beast tooth on her chest that eats the light out of the air. She has a skywolf that was sealed in a rock, waiting for her to be born. And a jar of sour cabbage, and a pot with chilies in it, and a field of things nobody in this world ever thought to put in the ground. And an old man on the mountain who felt her arrive 16 years ago and said nothing, and funded her whole life out of his own authority, and sealed the best thing he had left in a wall on the chance that somebody like her might one day exist. And he's dying. And he knows exactly how long he's got, and he's teaching her as fast as he possibly can. And she's going to be a level 1 warrior before spring, because he said her life would be more secure that way. And she made him a promise in that cave, and no one can lie before a shaman, so it was true before she knew it was in her. And here's the part that's going to cost her, because she's worked it out now. This valley is safe, and safe is why the wolves have gotten thinner every generation. Safe is why our level 2 can't do what their level 1 can. Safe is why our descendants will think Black Wolf's grandfather was a legend. Safe is what's killing us. And she's already said the sentence, quietly, in a turnip field where nobody heard it. The relocation of the tribe is inevitable. She's going to walk 322 people out of the only home they've had for generations, out past the mountains, into the monster pit the founder ran away from to save them all. And she'll have to tell the old man. And she'll have to tell them. And the man who has to awaken them all and shield them from the beast tide and hold the tribe together while she moves it is the one who won't see the spring. Ask me what a promise costs when the only person who could help you keep it is already gone.